Theodore Roosevelt once said, "The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, and spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best, if he wins, knows the thrills of high achievement, and if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat."
Is there anything you don't want to talk about?
It don't really matter to me. I mean,
Because everyone's been different. Natalie wasn't really very. She didn't really
Make
talk
sure
about
this
her.
is like a fist away.
I think if we're doing it, then we're doing it, right? I mean, and I think we're fine.
I don't know what she wants. Like,
You can kind of do like one of these, like
Yeah.
I've
It
done
was-
where I had to talk at meetings and you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was the chairperson and all that shit. So I kind of understand how to talk about what I went through, but I never did it with. I'm more nervous to talk in front of her.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, because there are some things that she might not have heard before.
Oh, I feel
that's happened to us.
That's happened to us.
That's happened
Yeah,
to
but
us.
I think like I made peace with like just everything. So like I don't think there's anything that you can bring up that I would be like, oh well, I didn't know that, and like now that changes things.
But
if
it's
that
like
makes
you
sense.
know how I describe it. It's like part one and part two. Like there was life with us when I was drinking and getting high, like a maniac, and that was a different life. So it's like not like everything is forgiven, but it's like whatever's not known that she finds out about,
Yeah.
is not the end of the world because I'm different.
Yeah, I feel like I'm fine now. But when you came back from rehab, and then we're
Yeah,
like,
unless like a stripper knocked on my door with a baby, that would be
that would be. I would. That
Then
would,
that's a problem.
Then that's a whole other thing.
I don't care how many years ago that shit was.
Same. That would be a problem.
All right, we're rolling. I would start.
All right,
Yeah.
that's all for the earphones on.
So
fuck no.
I think so. You guys have been best friends for years. Like all you guys have been friends. For,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've
You've
been around
known
for a
Me
while.
and Meg
Amanda's
have known
known
each
each
other
other?
the longest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
We've
Fifth grade.
fifth
sixth?
grade. Yeah, fifth grade.
No shit.
SKS.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like if I could have not been such a maniac for our whole relationship, I'd be closer with you guys. I blame myself. Like, even when I go to Autumn's for the birthdays, like, I'm totally standoffish because I'm always like either high or like trying not to be high for that day. For real. Yeah. But like, that's why I was so happy to see you guys when I came in a couple weeks ago because I'm like, all right, well,
Yeah.
you know, I can actually talk to these people and not be like, you know,
Yeah.
'cause I get weird.
Yeah.
And it's more like insecure because I'm like, I just feel like a fucking loser.
Yeah, I
You know
get
what
it.
mean? You know?
Yeah, I felt that way in front of them because they witnessed everything.
Yeah.
Like I was
Yeah.
with them for so long, but they were also maniacs at the time.
Oh, yeah.
So I was kind of like, didn't really matter what I was doing.
It was just blurred.
We had our own.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We were all bad together.
Yeah,
You know, the first time I heard of you, we had my old apartment downtown, and it was the Austin trip. And when I heard the story of the Austin trip, I was like, "Yeah, we're probably the same." And I can't
Yeah.
say that to her. So
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be on the straight at this time,
Yeah.
and I'm hearing the story. I'm like, "Oh, dude!" Like in my head, I'm like, well, "Why didn't you just bring us to boxing with him?"
Dude.
that's where my head went, dude.
Well, that was the first time I think it like I realized like that was the first time I was like, wait a minute, what's happening here?
We
Like,
had went on other vacations.
You guys always do that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, all right, I got 3 or 4 days to kind of just kick it and just drink and kind of just power through it.
Yeah.
But this time, I was doing heroin during that
No
part.
shit.
Yeah. And we went to Austin the first day. I was like, oh, this kind of struggle, dude.
You just thought you were going to power through because you're on vacation.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been
And
there.
then I think we got to like the second or third day, and I was crawling out of my skin. I remember being like at the front door, and Meg actually came up. She was like, "Are you okay? Like, what, can I get you anything?" And I really couldn't explain what was going on.
Where's Frankie at?
Well, I don't know what she's
here.
barking at.
Chill,
I don't know if she
dog.
wants attention.
And then,
Hi, Frank.
dude, I remember I got out. I just left like the Airbnb and started walking around Austin by myself. Like and part of me, I was like trying to score, like,
Yeah.
and then part of me was like, I got to go to the hospital, and then I forget even how, like, we ended up at the hospital. Didn't I call you?
I think so.
I was like, hey,
I
I'm at-
forget. I
'Cause
feel
I
like,
was- I
did
wasn't-
you call me and we're like, I want to say Meg might have called me and was like, I think something's like really
Yeah,
wrong.
something-
Because I
yeah.
went out. Like when you went out, I was like, oh,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, that's
going.
right.
Like, and I remember walking, we were on like 6th Street or whatever that the
Yeah,
main
main-
street
yeah.
is. And I came back and we like called an Uber, I
Yeah.
think. And we went to the like
to the
local
hospital.
medical center.
We're like, oh shit, he's really sick.
Yeah, and of course, you know, and someone in active addiction is like, oh, well, you know, maybe it was something from the plane, or
Oh, yeah.
you know, and
I
I'm
actually
like,
blamed it on the baked potato I ate from the food truck.
Dude, that reminds me
Yeah,
of
there was a food truck out front, and
I
there was like a baked
can't.
potato with like loaded with like cheddar and bacon. I was like, oh, it must have been that baked potato.
and here I am, like half drunk from being out. Like,
Yeah.
all right, like we're good.
I would think the same thing. I would think the same thing, and that was literally like Mexico. Our first year, we went to Mexico.
Yeah.
It was the same thing with
Yeah.
you know what's his
Yeah.
name?
Yeah.
he was doing this. If I act weird, if I'm doing this, oh my belly hurts, and like up in the room sleeping, like we
Yeah.
were all having fun in the pool.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like he was literally probably doing the same exact thing,
Yeah.
like
100%.
trying to survive like those days.
Dude, our first Mexico trip, I had 1 day sober. You know, and which is not sober. It's
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
Hey, you were drinking.
Yeah.
We were drinking
I know.
so much.
Well, 1 day off drugs.
Oh, yeah, you always
I
say
did the
that.
same thing as you.
Yeah.
We're in Breathless in Mexico. This resort just opened. It's banging. And I'm drinking like a fish, talking to my boy back home, like, dude, I don't know if I could do this. I'm fucking dying, dude.
Yeah.
Like, this is terrible, dude. So I just drank as much as I could, and you know, it was fucking terrible. As soon as I got home, I got high.
Yeah.
It was like literally like all the only thing on my mind. As soon as the plane lands, I'm figuring this shit the
Yeah.
fuck out.
Didn't you ask that? Wasn't our bald head dude? Didn't you say you asked for Coke or something?
Because we extended our stay. We extended our stay and went to a different resort.
Oh my
And,
god, you were probably like, no, let's go home.
I found Coke. That's right. I made friends with this fucking gangster dude from Chicago. I forgot about that. And he had Coke. And when you're a perk head and like and all you have is Coke, it's the worst. It's because there's the come down and like you never
Doesn't
even-
last long.
No, and you're in Mexico, so it's not great.
Yeah,
It
and you
was
just want more.
dude. So I had like
Couldn't
40
tell ya.
bucks.
Just give me an extra drink.
I had 40 bucks left to my name when we went to the second resort. And I tried to get more Coke and I couldn't. And like she had the money and there's no way I could ask for it to get more Coke. And I'm like, what? Because I had to do something. And, it was fucking terrible.
That was bad.
Fucking terrible.
I moved rooms, I think. There. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
You were crazy. He was crazy. Then I think the room next to us called security.
Yeah. I just like smashed the table with
Yeah.
my suitcase.
Like one of those like big ass heavy like marble
table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like probably I was like blacked out, so I actually don't remember anything besides being on the balcony.
Yeah, it was fucking bad. And
So
that
bad.
was just the same. I mean, I did put together a year and a half sober in that mix, but it was just the same bullshit all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
Even just thinking about it, I'm sure you can relate. Like, but all of us, like, it's
That Austin trip was probably the biggest like eye opener for me.
Yeah.
Because Pete, my best friend Pete, was on that vacation
Yeah.
with me too, and he knew something was up. He
but he didn't know what the deal was.
he didn't know I was that bad yet. Like
Maybe like
for
dabbled a
so
little bit.
long, dude, I kept everything kind of like I would just play everything off, and like for a while, like the first 4 or 5 years of my addiction was just pills, and then finally the dealer that I would go to that was just steady. He always had shit. I could go to his house. It was this old dude, and he just had every pill like imaginable. I don't know how I got hooked up with him, but he failed like his drug test to get his pills. Something he popped for something that shouldn't have been in his system.
No, they cut him
And
off.
They cut him off.
Yeah.
So I show up. I didn't know any of this. He's like, "Oh, dude, it's like literally like it was like a movie." Like he's like, "Oh, I got this." He's like, "It's dope." He's like, "You want to try it?" He's like, "You'll feel better."
Yeah.
And he like broke out a line. He's like, I won't even charge you for it." I'm like, at this point, I was fucking just dying. Like I
had to
needed
do something.
something. You
Had to
know what
do
I mean?
something.
And then that was it. I fucking snorted it, and it was just off to the races from there. Like I was looking for any chance to get high that I could, and I was just bouncing back, like between jobs and shit. Like it was just
Nuts.
It was madness. It was just pure fucking madness.
Did
at
you ever
that
try to
time.
get sober before this, or like you were always just kind of fucking around and never even dabbled with sobriety at this point?
No, yeah, I never really like. I told myself 1,000 times, like, I don't want to be like this, but I just never really had any consequences yet. Like,
Yeah.
nothing really hit the fan yet
Yeah.
until she took a video of me, like, nodding out in my cereal one night.
Yeah.
It's not funny.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Oh
But like
my
I remember
God.
being like, this can't be like this
Yeah.
can't be
Yeah.
happening.
I never even expect like all the years like, I never would have I never thought anything.
Yeah.
Like even Austin, like I never was like, oh, he looks like he's on pills. Like usually you can kind of like tell
Yeah.
maybe a little bit, but maybe because we were always
I don't
drunk.
know.
I don't know.
I thought I
never-
hit it well, but
No, I mean-
I really like she said, my voice always changed.
Yeah, I could always tell on the phone.
Oh,
Always,
get, like, raspy or
without a doubt. Like just it wasn't
Yeah.
like he didn't talk different, but like you could. I don't know, just like the tone. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm sure you
No,
probably
it's
hear it. And
this-
like
literally
I would
the same
know,
thing.
and I would be like,
His it would be his face.
Yeah.
See, some people could take perks and subs and their eyes look okay.
Yeah.
Like I could take 1 perk or 20 and my eyes are fucking destroyed.
Yeah.
So I always had to like really hide it well from her. You know, dim the lights during dinner or just, try not to look her in the eye.
Well, yeah, I always know you come home from work and you would be like doing laundry or something, and I'm like, oh, he would normally come in here and say hi. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
something's
Well, I was
weird.
just, like,
they
rushing around the
preoccupy
house,
themselves.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I would
Yeah.
try to time it at work. Like, well, if I do it at 1 o'clock and I see her at 7 o'clock, like my
Yeah.
eyes will probably be back to normal. Like,
Yep.
that would be like my
Dude.
daily thing.
Just
It also
crazy
didn't
shit.
help either. Like in the thick of it, we were on totally different schedules. Like I worked day when he worked night. I worked overnights, like where he would have the entire night like to himself. So like
Oh, yeah, so it
there
sounds
was
like you did
always
it.
like
Yeah.
Yeah.
we
Free
were-
time.
we missed each other so much for like probably 2 or 3 years of our lives, like,
Yeah.
where we really like were just on totally different schedules. So I think that's probably how it went on for so long. But then once it got like bad, it got bad.
So Austin was like a big thing. I showed up to one of my fantasy drafts with like all my like closest buddies. Like I've been in this fantasy league for like 16 years or something. It's Pete. It's like all that.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So I showed up, fucking like out of my mind, dude. Out of my mind. And again, I thought I was fine. Like,
Yeah.
But apparently, like I was making draft picks, and I was like. And they're like, so then Pete texts me the next day and he's like, dude, he's like, I know something's up. Like he was one of the first people to call me out. And I was like, dude, like I was just really tired that day. I worked at she knows the same
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
bullshit story I gave to him. And then it was just like, it was that. And then I think I fucking just like powered through it for a little bit longer. And then I'm trying to like put together the timeline because it's just everything's like it was just so fucked up.
Yeah, like a blur.
Yeah,
It's a blur.
everything,
It's a
everything's
fucking
such
blur.
a blur, dude. But I remember Pete being the one to like reach out and kind of like call me out of my bullshit, and I just bullshitted him back. And then my sister got involved at one point, and she's like, I'm going to tell your mommy, and I'm like, don't do that, like please don't do that, like I promise I'm fine. And then I think that was like when I finally made my first attempt at like going to an AA meeting because I reached out to my buddy Danny and Kevin, and they were both in the program, and they were like, just come to this meeting. I think my first meeting was actually Life or Death.
Yeah. Yep.
And I went to
Okay.
Life, like the beginner's meeting, and I was high at the meeting.
Yeah, I've done
Like,
that.
Yeah, I went to the meeting high. It went in one ear, out the
Yeah,
other.
it was like it didn't even happen.
Yeah, and I was like, this, like, all right, like maybe if I start just doing this, people will get off my back. I'll still get high, but they think I'm going to a AA meeting, so it's like a win-win kind of.
Yeah.
But that didn't last long at all because I was working at a fucking car dealership, and I was getting high there. And the one like morning meeting, everyone gets together, like all like the agents and shit. And I must have been nodding out at the meeting because then like the GM calls me in his office and he's like, Anthony, he's like, do you have anything to tell us? And I'm like, no.
Like, what are you talking about?
Like what? Like, what's up? And he's like, this morning was kind of a red flag. Like, what's going on at home? You getting enough sleep? And I was like, in my head, I'm like, the fucking jig's up.
Yeah,
dude.
caught.
Like, Yeah, so he's like, if we drug test you right now, what's going to happen? I was like, you know, a little weed might come up. Like, that's it. He looks at me. He's like, I know that wasn't weed this morning. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I would fail. I have painkillers in my system. And he was like, all right. He's like, he's like, you were on probation as it was, so we got to fire you. Ugh. So they like packed my shit up in like a little cardboard box, and they wouldn't let me drive home. One of the fucking like the finance dudes that doesn't sell he like does all like the finance part. He had to drive me home. He drove me home to Salem Harbor when we had our apartment.
Now she doesn't know.
I don't know if I ever said that. I don't know if she knows that.
But does she know that you're having an issue like in life at this moment, or are you just kind of like still hiding it from her?
So I was still kind of hiding it because
she knew something was up, but not how bad it was.
Yeah,
Right.
because even after this, like when I got home that day, I didn't tell anyone I got fired. Nobody knew I got fired. I was like she would get up for work, and I would pretend like I was getting up for work. I would get dressed, dude, go out, and then the one day I drove to fucking Tyler State Park and sat at Tyler State Park, walked around. I got high, and I was like, "This is fucking crazy, dude. What am I doing?"
For like a week. He did this for like a week.
Dude, I did this for like a fucking full week.
The dude that shared yesterday at the meeting I went to was a cop, and he got fired, and he lived at home, and his mom was a cop, so he got dressed with his personal gun, not because they obviously took his gun, and acted like he was going to work as a cop for weeks, dude. He said 6 weeks, he said.
Oh my God.
He said he would do the same thing. He would go, and he actually lived on one of the places on the State Road, and he would just go somewhere and just get fucked up all day.
Dude, it's fucking, I believe it. We are fucking
maniacs.
nuts.
Yeah.
When we're in the midst of like the full fucking addiction, like you'll do anything to let nobody know about it.
Of course.
So that's what I was doing for a while. And then the one day I think I just had no money and I was just like at the end of my road. And I remember I called. Are we like allowed to name drop on here? Like I don't know.
I mean,
like,
if you're,
If you don't
it's
wanna,
up to you. Like I've
well,
done it.
he's
It's up
like
to you.
huge, and he was a big part of my story. I called fucking Mike Gummel.
Okay.
And he knew, like he was my football coach at one point. Like he knew everything that was going on, and he was like, as soon as I called, he picked up. He's like, "You're finally ready to go, aren't you?" And I was like, "How did you know?" He's like, "Dude," he's like, "I've been waiting for a while for this call."
Yeah. Come here, friend.
And he's like, "All right, well, I didn't know what to do." So he's got me.
Like you were like about to go to treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm ready to go. Like, I'm ready to get help. Like, I can't do this anymore. It's done. And he's like, all right, well, do you have health insurance? And I'm like, no, I don't have anything. Like, I don't know what to do. That's what I'm like, I need help, dude.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to, what was it, the Horsham Clinic?
Okay.
It was the Horsham Clinic. And he was like, you have to tell them that you're suicidal. And if, like, they have to take you legally. And so that's what we did. Like, I packed, like, I don't even know if I packed it back. I don't know what the fuck I did. It was such a
you
blur
went
when I got
right
there.
there.
Yeah.
You went.
He came and got me within
I brought you stuff.
He came and got me within like 15 minutes of that
Yeah.
phone call.
There was no
drove
time in
me up
between.
there. And I couldn't believe it because I think it was in the middle of the week, like middle of the day. I need to ask him like if he left work like to do that. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
know if he did. Like, it was such a blessing that he did that though, because I ended up going to Horsham Clinic. I did like 28 days there, and during that time, dude, like I remember just like it was just crazy.
It's crazy.
Because I was thinking the whole time, like, where is my life going to go? Like right now, I have nothing. Like the only thing I had was her. Like that was the biggest thing. And I was so scared of losing her. But she came after like a week, I think it was.
Yeah, because you were on like detox, so you weren't allowed to call. Like it was once he got there. Like I brought a bag, dropped it off one day, couldn't even see him, and then he like had no phone, nothing. Like couldn't tell me what he wanted, what he needed. Like it was a week of silence, and it happened. I was standing in the OR at work.
Yeah, that was the other
and
thing.
he called. And I just felt like this like rush of relief where I was like, I don't care if I can't talk to you for a month, like go. Cause he was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to talk to you. And like, he kind of knew like what was coming, I guess, like in that sense. And I was just like, okay, go. I'm like, then we'll talk when we can talk, and we'll figure it out from there. Like, go. Like, you have to go.
Yeah.
Because he was like, well, maybe I can come home and like see. And I was like, no, go. We're good. Like,
How long
it's
ago
fine.
was this?
Dude, what was that?
I don't even know.
I want to say like 2016, maybe 2015.
I literally couldn't tell you, to be honest.
That's where I think it was. I think
Yeah.
that's around the time it was because we got married when 2018, and then
Penryn, right?
yeah.
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 Yep.
Yeah, so I think it was around 2015, 2016 was when that happened. And then I remember finishing detox and not knowing what was going to happen from there.
Because of the insurance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't get into a rehab. I got no insurance. So then again, I talked to Mike Gummel, and he's like, look, dude, he's like, I'm name dropping people, but he's like, I talked to Matt Amato. He was actually working at a treatment facility in Florida. And he's like, just give him a phone call. He's like, see what he can do. And I called Amato up, and he's like, look, dude, he's like, we're willing to scholarship you.
Yeah. I never
That's
knew what that was.
awesome.
It happened to my dad.
I didn't know what it meant either. I was like, scholarship. I'm like, I'm not playing like football. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not,
Yeah.
you know.
My first rehab was Bowling Green, and my dad's like, I got a scholarship there. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that means.
Yeah.
And then when you get there, it just means you got to go for free.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, great, cool. That was awesome. But yeah, he's like, all you got to do is pay for your plane ticket. And he's like, you'll be taken care of by when you come down here. So what did you pick me up that day? We went to like Dick's Sporting Goods. I got like a few things.
Yeah.
And then I think that same afternoon I was on the
Yeah, we drove right
plane,
to the airport.
Right?
Yeah, and that was the other thing. Like, I had a bag packed for you then because I didn't know if there was anything in the house or like, so we never went home.
Yeah.
Because like I was like, I mean, obviously I looked, but like
They're so sneaky.
They're so
Ann said,
sneaky.
Ann said the
Yeah.
guy had
That's pretty
Suboxone
smart on your
in
part.
rehab.
yeah. So
Yeah.
there was no shot that like we were going home. That's why we went to Dick's. I was like, buy, like you can get what you need, and we drove right down 95 and to the airport you went, and that was it.
So I want to get to you in a second, but I know what it feels like for me, and I imagine we're not unique. You know what I mean? Like
No.
all of us feel the same way. I think at that point, like, what was that like, dude? Because
Dude, I remember
I feel like
getting-
sense of relief.
It
Then it's like
was.
guilt and shame.
There were so many different ranges like of emotions
Yeah.
getting on the plane itself. I was sitting. It's actually so weird. Like I remember
Forgot
sitting
about this.
on like in my seat, and I must have looked like a broken puppy dog because this lady, she just out of nowhere starts talking. She's like, "Hey, I couldn't help but notice, but like, she's like, is everything all right?" And I was like, you know, I wanted to be like, no, like, actually, like, if you have time, like, I can tell, like, can I just cry right on your shoulder? Like, and she's like,
She probably would have been all right with it though.
How are you?
yeah, actually, like, there's so much things, like, I could tell you about.
The flight's not long enough.
But we, like, for whatever reason, she starts talking to me, and I started feeling comfortable with her. And I was like, you know, actually, I'm on this flight by myself, and I'm going to a rehab. And she looked at me, and she was like, I think she had like 22 years sober.
What?
Yeah.
Nuh-uh, she got the
crazy.
chills.
Yeah, I remember her name. Her name was like Eileen, and she made me take her phone number. She's like, I really want to know how you make out, and if you ever need like any help,
Wow.
call me. She's like, I live in Florida. She's like, if for whatever reason this treatment facility doesn't work out, call me. And I just remember like in my head, I'm like, there is like, I feel like that's whether you believe in God.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
people believe in higher
That's what they
power.
say. God moment right
It's
there.
like
I
a divine
feel like
intervention.
Yeah.
that was one of those moments
Yeah.
where I was like, wow, someone was like looking out for me. I mean, needless to say,
I actually kind of want to cry.
yeah, it was pretty crazy that happened because needless to
wild.
say, before that, talking to Amato, like him scholarshiping me, like I didn't know what like I said, I didn't know what was going to happen after detox. Like I thought that was it, and I was like, there's no chance I'm ready to just go function in the world.
How'd you feel physically after detox? Like, were you like,
I had to detox from detox because they had me on methadone.
yeah,
And I was, because that was the thing. I was like, detox is fucking, like, this is easy. Like,
Yeah.
they had me on methadone. the sleep one. Well, I forget they give you to sleep. And
Yeah.
dude, they would put me fucking out.
Yeah.
I went to see him at one point once I could see him after he was out of like the detox, and he looked higher there than he ever did in our own house.
That's
Like, I
what-
remember
yeah.
being like,
It's
"Dude,
kind
are
of
you good?"
Yeah.
Like his eyes were glassed over. Like I was like, and he was just like,
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, they do a lobotomy? Like, what's happening here?
That's my second rehab. They wanted to give me like what I don't know if it was like 4, 2, 1 half Suboxones, and I'm like, dude, like I'm coming here. I took a bunch of perks before I got there,
Yeah.
but really I was doing subs
I was
every
like,
day.
you did, yeah, Suboxone
And I'm
all
like,
the time.
can we just cut this in half? Because I'm still an addict. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna not take them. I just don't need to take them for 6 days. I'll take them for 3.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah, dude. I remember talking to the doctor, and he was like, "This is what we're going to put you on," and I didn't argue at all.
Yeah.
He's like, because we did your urine test, and he's like, tested positive for fentanyl, and I didn't even know I was taking fentanyl at the time. Like, I think the heroin was just starting to get laced, or not laced, but mixed with the
Yeah.
fentanyl. And-
So that's what I kind of think. I think like you were flying under the radar for so long until whatever you were getting had fentanyl in it,
Yeah.
and that's where he was like,
That's what
it
makes
was
you
just
that's like so scary.
like a
you know?
downward slope
Yeah.
of like that. Like that's when he was nodding out in his cereal. I'm like, dude, this is like.
Dude, there was a few times where it was just like I remember driving to work, and I worked at Widowwood Out. It was a cheesesteak
Oh,
place.
yeah, I remember
And I was
that.
crossing Red Line, but I must have nodded out, and I like drove up into the grass and shit, and just so happened didn't hit anything,
Right.
and just got back on the road and just I was like, and then I just turned right into work, and I was like, okay, I guess that just happened, dude. Like that was like I almost just died, but hey, we're good. We're good now. It was just like talking about it. I can just think of so many different stories. But getting back to the plane with that lady and getting off the plane and then him coming to pick me up. I remember getting down there and he introduced me to the house that I was staying in. And it was all guys. It was like 10 different guys. And I remember being like one of the older ones. It was like a lot of young, like 20, 21. And I think I was 25 or 26 at the time. And they were all they were good dudes. I'd still talk to a lot
Yeah,
of them.
you
I still
connect. You really
wonder-
connect
yeah.
with those dudes. Same here.
There's one dude that I haven't been able to connect with, and I like kind of like search for him, like because I was very close with this guy. But it was an experience down there. I did a full 90 down there.
No shit.
I
Oh, damn,
did-
that's a long time.
yeah, I did the IOP, like I did all that. And it's funny, like they would make me talk. They're like, we want to hear you talk again. And I'm like, why? They're like, you talk funny. And I'm like,
Oh, because we're from Philly?
yeah. They're like, say Outback. And I'm like, Outback. And they're like, and then they would just love it. They would just start rolling. I'm like, what is so funny about
Yeah,
that?
like you're from England or some
Yeah.
shit, dude.
It was like, I don't understand.
People say that to me all the time, like, especially about Megan. Somebody just heard the podcast. No, we're at the gym.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy's like, I thought you were a suburban mom until you opened your voice. Once you open your mouth, and I can tell you you're from Philly.
It's
Like, I
so
don't think I look like a
obvious.
suburban mom at all, but he said a suburban runner mom or something.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah.
am I that old that I look like a mom?
Oh my God. That's great.
That's funny.
Yeah, so then I was in Florida for 90 days, and then we came home. So when I got into detox, I was 156 pounds.
Wow.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
What do you get, like 220 now? 210?
yeah, about like 225. Like
Holy
220.
fuck.
But I remember coming home from Florida, and she picked me up, and she's like, I didn't even recognize you at the time. Like, she almost walked right by me.
Really? Because you put so much weight back on.
Yeah, it was that. It was like that quick. Like I was up to 200, like within 60
Because
days.
they feed you.
Yeah.
Rehab was, listen, dude, like, if there was a reason to go back to rehab
Yeah.
and it had nothing to do with
I
drugs,
know.
I'd be like, oh, God, it was fucking great, dude.
Because you had all the time.
And then you were going to the gym.
Yeah,
like-
Yeah,
I was going to the
it was
gym all the
awesome.
Fucking time.
Yeah, I said it's like, it must be nice just to
Yeah.
be doing nothing. Yeah,
I feel bad,
like
like,
a free
I
vacation.
know. I'm going to the gym,
I know.
running up the mountain, and she's struggling with all the things I left her with. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you're just in it.
I know.
You have no choice. Might as well make the best of it.
Yeah.
I know my dad would come over like randomly. My mom's like, did you take the trash out? I'm like, no. And then I looked out the window. I'm like, oh my God, Dad must have came over and took the trash out. I'm like, that was so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're in it, like you feel guilt being down there, like, and they have all this shit to deal with at home, and I'm just, like playing ping pong with the dudes in my house, like this is fucking great,
How often would you get to talk to her?
So there was another, like in the very beginning, getting down there, I think there was a blackout period where we weren't allowed to have our phones for like a week, I think it was. But prior to them doing that,
that was during the blackout period when you went into Amato's
his office and cried and like a little, like I was a mess. I called her, and it started off as like a serious conversation, and then all of a sudden, like I just started breaking down, like weeping, like crying like a little baby, and I don't even remember like what I was saying. I think I was more so scared that she was going to leave.
Yeah.
Like, I was just terrified that she was going to leave me. I was going to come home and have nothing. But she stuck by everything, which is just...
But like that's what I said when he called from his office and was to the point, I mean, he was crying to the point I couldn't even understand him for like a solid couple minutes. And he like voiced that he was like scared, like I'm going to be like, I need to come home, and like I've already been gone for 30 days. And like, now I'm going to be, at that point, I was going to be gone for another 30, like, but then like he obviously did the full 90, but at that point it was only going to be 30 days. And I was like, this is nothing. Like at that point we had already been together.
Yeah,
I'm like, we've already been together for like 6 years at this point. I'm like, 6 months is nothing. Now we've been together for 14 years. I'm like, that 6 months is like, for like it didn't even happen. Not that it didn't happen, but like 6 months was like a drop in the bucket, and so that's what I tried to like say. Like, if we're gonna be together, like 6 months is nothing.
Yeah,
like you need to do this because I can't do another 6 years of you being the way you were.
Oh, I would have loved if Anthony was gone for 90 days.
Whatever. So before you keep going, I mean, like I know what it was like for Megan. I mean, because you guys were together for, like you said, 6-7 years at this point. Like, what's going on with you? And I say that because I know you guys, but I don't know you that well, and I blame myself for that. But like, I can only imagine some of the things you were feeling were some of the things she was feeling.
Yeah.
Like, what was it like for you? Because like, this is a big deal.
I mean, in the moment, it was like a relief because I knew I wasn't crazy. Like he had me thinking I was crazy.
Yeah.
So my therapist said
Typical
that's mental
narcissist.
Yeah, like
I didn't realize, but my therapist said that's mental abuse.
Yeah.
And I was abusing her, getting her to convincing her. She drug tested me. I knew subs weren't going to come up. I'm like, told you. And she felt bad. Like that's what I.
He looked wonky in the supermarket.
and I was
like,
convinced that I was like losing my mind. Yeah. Like, and I was like, I can't be this night. Like, I can't be that. I don't know. I can't be that wrong. So it was almost like that relief of like, okay, I'm not crazy. Mm-hmm. But then also like, oh my God, he's been making me think that I'm crazy for all this time. But then it was just, I felt, he like he said, he was already name dropping, but I felt blessed that Mike Gummel was in his life for any type of reason and jumped at that chance. And that then, Amato gave him just a link of friendships through life. Like
that's what they do.
And it was just, that was like a blessing to see. And just the fact that he was now taking it seriously and going for help, like I could breathe and be like, okay, like I'm not going to come home to him dead on the floor, because I literally used to think that, like I would speed home, like after, because we would used to talk like when I worked my overnights, and like he would just go radio silent, and I'd be like, oh my God. So I would be for 4 hours the rest of my shift plus my hour drive home, like just anxious, sick to my stomach. Like, what am I going to open the door to?
Yeah.
And
we don't give a fuck.
No.
Yeah. Like,
I never think about that.
No, and like it's not because it's not like it's not even a thought. No. It doesn't even factor in. And like I know that sounds selfish, and it is the most selfish. But in the moment when you're in it, like I don't have time to think about that. Yeah. I'm thinking about like how long is this going to last, and when am I going to do it again, and how am I going to get away with it? And like it's fucking terrible. Yeah. It's like I mean, you and I, we're lucky.
Selfishness.
The fact that she's sitting here and she's sitting here, it's like, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Thank fucking Lord, dude.
Yeah, that was like always my biggest fear. And that anxiety, like living in that state of anxiety, like Meg will tell you, I am a very like nonchalant, nothing really bothers me. I don't hold grudges.
That's how you come off, like a very strong, tough woman.
I just, I don't have time for it. Like I need to, like if I'm going to move on, and like I'm just going to move on. Like I don't have time to be like, oh my God, they did that to me 6 years ago, like in any form sense of anybody, not just him. Like I don't. And if like if you do something and you're someone who's not going to be in my life, then I'm like, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you are someone who's going to be in my life, I'm also like, listen, like if we're going to move on from this, then like we just have to leave it in the past. And like this is, and I remember saying that to you, like being like, I just need you to know, like I don't necessarily forgive everything, but like, and I don't forget it, but like it happened. We dealt with it. Now we still deal with it like on a regular basis. It's still like it doesn't just go away by any means. Even no matter how far out we are, it doesn't go away. Like we still actively talk about it just to talk about it. But that's like I like in the beginning when you said like, is there anything that's off limits? But like, no, because I don't think there's anything that could come up in this conversation where, that if it happened 7 years ago and I'm going to be like, oh my God, well, I didn't know that. Now I'm not going to be like, all right, well now I'm throwing, our entire life that we built away, because it doesn't matter what happened when you were in active addiction at that time. Like you were in active addiction, and I'm not making excuses or saying that's fine,
his real story.
Right, but that's not who he was.
You're
and when
totally
I accepted the fact that you are who you are, and that's why I chose to stay with you, despite that, that's who I was choosing. I was choosing the person I really know you are, not
She would
you in
always say
addiction.
that. She said, I know that the person I like fell in love with is still in there. And that's what I'm like, basically what I'm staying for.
Yeah.
And that would always kind of hit me hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because she would break that out and I'd be like, man, I fucking suck. I'm such a piece of shit.
I know.
Why am I doing
I
this?
know. I know.
Did you have rules for him when he came home? Because like I talked to someone and they were like really strict with a lot of things.
When I first got home, I think
Oh
we
my
were
God.
like an hour off the plane. We went to Olive Garden together, and I ordered a Mexican coffee. And I didn't know. I thought it was just like a strong coffee.
That's what I thought. It's not?
There's tequila in
They
it.
put tequila in.
Oh,
Shut
okay.
up.
Dude, so I get it, and I'm like drinking. I'm like, this is pretty good. I guess.
Can I get 6 more, please?
Yeah, I'm like, and then I think
He
we
had me
looked-
taste it, and
Yeah,
I was like,
does this
there's
taste funny?
tequila in there. And he
I
was
was
like,
like,
shut up.
dude, I was
the color
freaking
just
out.
drained
Oh,
from his
that's
face.
like
Because I was like, I hit 90 days and then I hit like 120 days. Like you keep count. Like
Absolutely.
When you're at that stage, you're like, dude, 90 days was such a milestone.
Absolutely.
And then you get to fucking 6 months and you're like, oh my God, like I love and you just keep going, you keep going. I think eventually my longest like full sobriety I got up to was like a year and 7 months or something like that. And then I started thinking that I can drink again. And that was right before our wedding. I think I started drinking right before our wedding, but I wasn't getting high.
Now, how did
Yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off. Like I went to rehab. My first time was like 13 years ago, I think. So I was already poisoned by AA, and like every time I would drink after that, it was always in the back of my head.
Guilt.
Yeah,
Yes.
the guilt. Like I
Yes.
know I shouldn't be doing this. I
Yes.
put like convincing myself I was good. Like, did you deal with any of that?
I did. I remember because you know what? It was before the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I was like, you know what? I think it would be good to have it. Like, I think I can just drink.
Yeah.
And, and that's I did that for a while, and then the sense of guilt was always there.
Always.
Because like
Fucking terrible.
you make friendships in AA that with these people, and you feel like
You're letting them down.
Yeah.
It's
And they look at you
it's a
like-
to-
Yeah, and
For
you
me, it's a
feel like
total
you-
stop button.
yeah, you feel like you can't talk to them no
exactly,
more. Like,
exactly.
and it got to a point. I mean, like I'm pretty far now where it's like I see these guys sometimes, and it's like we don't talk as much as we used to, but they're also comfortable with it. Like I have best friends that are still in the program, and I see them all the time, and it's just because they can see bullshit too. Like if I was getting high, they would fucking know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that sense of guilt for a while did suck. At this stage now, I don't really.
Doesn't affect you.
It doesn't really affect me.
Yeah.
no.
Like my I don't know if you guys listen to my best friend Gonzo is exactly like you.
Yeah.
Well, not exactly. I mean, he was living down the way. It got really bad for him. Heroin, coke, shooting, everything. And he was sober for a while, and now he drinks. And, you know, you two are the only people I know that can do that.
Yeah.
You know, not that I have many friends that dabbled in the program and outside of the program, but like, you know, I do believe that it's possible.
Yeah.
My sister does.
Her sister
I mean,
does.
she mostly smokes weed.
Everybody's
Everybody's
story is
different.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Everybody,
Absolutely.
like, I don't advocate like the way I live for anybody.
It's for
like,
you.
Yeah, it's
For you
me,
guys, yeah.
and it works for me. But I know that the 12-step program is fucking. It works wonders for people. Like I went through the 12 steps, I did all that.
Sponsored the whole deal.
I had a sponsor. I never sponsored anybody.
No, but we have, same.
But-
I have one. I never
Yeah,
sponsored anybody.
yeah, I never sponsored anybody, but I went through the whole thing. You know, I did commitments. Me and my buddy Danny, we went down to a few like treatment centers, like in the city, and talked in front of like crackheads, dude, like legit, like crazy people, and I was nervous to do that. Like that was nerve.
I spoke at Kensington Detox once.
Yeah,
That was crazy.
dude. It like I would and the one thing I would always get that would bother me that would, I guess when because at that time I was very active, like lifting, and I would always get, oh well, you don't look like the type, so like it was almost like my story wasn't valid, and I'm like, you know, like, that would bother the shit out of me. Oh well, you don't really look like the type that ever did that, like.
What do they look like?
And that's what I would say. Like, no, it doesn't have a face. Like, everybody's different.
Yeah.
Like, and once it grabs a hold of you,
Yeah.
and I have such an addictive personality.
Yeah.
Where, like, that's how it happened. Like, I remember growing up and seeing, like, my dad throughout his addiction. I remember telling.
Oh, your dad had addiction. I know
Yeah.
your parents too, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know about yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember telling myself growing up, like, I'll never get like that.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yep.
And then sure enough, I break my collarbone playing flag football when I was 21, 20.
I was going to ask how did it start. So
Yeah. I mean, I guess we're like kind of all over the place.
yeah, we are too. Yeah,
But,
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of hard to put a timeline on everything.
How old are you, by the way?
I'll be 34 July 6th.
Okay.
All right, so you did the collarbone, and then what from there? They gave you.
They gave me Vicodins. I still remember the bottle. I remember like exactly what it looked like, and I remember taking it.
I thought they gave you perks when you broke your collarbone, and then I got prescribed Vicodin for my tooth. And I never
Maybe.
took them. And the Vicodins disappeared, and you told me you sold them at work.
Wow. Yeah, maybe that did happen. I don't know.
Now that you
My
say
brain's
it.
all fucking. That sounds like something I would have done back then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So.
But in high school, it was never an issue. Your boys didn't party like that. It wasn't like
I
that.
partied my ass off.
But like
in
with
high
the
school.
perks and shit.
I was introduced to them, but I never got addicted to them.
Yeah.
Like I remember, like this older dude, introduced me to like the perk gel. You remember them?
No.
It was like a gel pack.
But I'm finding out all this shit.
I know.
This is
I
like,
didn't know any of that
And
either.
it was me and this older dude, and he was in the bathroom. He was like, "Yo," he's like, "All you gotta do is lick this." I was like 15, 16. I was like, "And what's gonna happen?" He's like, "You're just gonna get really fucked up." And I was like, "All right."
I'll do it.
Yeah, I fucking licked
I
it.
get a couple licks.
Yeah, dude, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" But then, yes, I never got like addicted, but I was always partying my dick off,
Yeah.
dude. Like every other weekend, I was doing something.
Yeah.
And I like it was just like
It was great.
Split like
if we're being
drinking
honest,
off-
like, it was great.
yeah,
It was fucking
just
great.
it was pure fucking madness.
Yeah.
A weekend warrior.
Yeah, I was the same. It just
Yeah.
the weekend, like you didn't realize what Mondays were like. Now Mondays, you know, when you have a little bit of sobriety and you're fucked up, you're like, oh, this is
Yeah.
bad. But like when
Yeah.
back then, it's a total disconnect. Like, oh, it's just a long weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just pure madness. Like high school was it was just
When did
I
you start
partied
taking
all
them
the
every
time.
day? Like besides like just the weekends? Like when did it become like just like what I said to Ant? Like when did it become like when you started doing them during the week? Like
so
randomly, hey, I want to take something on a Wednesday.
I was working at Steve Steaks when I broke my collarbone, and I didn't have like any health insurance or anything like that. And I was out of work for maybe 2 months or something like that. And then I had to go back because I had no money. And I was fucking working a meat slicer with like a partially broken collarbone, and I was just
that's the
going
other
like
thing.
this.
His collarbone's like
Yeah, it's like
they never set
never
it.
healed right, and so for 8 hours a night, I was going like this on a broken collarbone,
Yeah.
and I was just like in excruciating pain. And I remember I told something to the dude I work with, and he just so happened to sell perks, and he was like, and that was the first time I took a 30, and he was like, here, he's like, I got these 30s, and I was like, all right, he's like, break it in half. He's like, do not take the whole thing at once. I was like, okay. So I break it in half.
So I did the whole thing.
No, I did it the way he told me, but I took half of it and I turned fucking green, and I was like, this sucks, dude. Like I'm fucking sweating. Like I was like, oh, woozy, and then the euphoria hits you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, this actually feels great.
Yeah.
Went back down like and started fucking
Grinding away.
Dude, I was fucking cutting meat like it was crazy. And then I took the other half and I was just cutting more meat, dude. It was just, and then it turned into, like every time I would work, I would need it. And then like if I wasn't at work, I wasn't doing them. And then that turned into like I needed them every day.
Yeah.
And then it just escalated from there.
Yeah.
So I did
Fuck,
that.
it's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember when they were fucking
$30.
20.
$20,
20,
okay.
25. Like,
Yeah.
I remember them being like that. And then they started spiking. Like towards the end of my addiction, they were probably 35, 40 bucks a pill. And I don't know what they are now. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like,
Yeah, you said you just bought when the last time you had showed up at the house and they kicked you out.
Deaf dude, $45. It's because I was friends of a friend. He's
Yeah.
like, I usually charge 50, but since you're friends of this guy, I give him 45.
$45
Great.
for one.
It's
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you looked high. Shit, that when you showed up, I was like, "What do you want?"
Yeah.
Like there was no hide in that.
Yeah, you
like
just knew.
before, like if you were like faded, but that I knew you were like just everything. Your eyes, your face just was different.
Well, not every once in a while, but like when I knew I was caught and I didn't give a fuck, then I would just get high. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh well. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
You're already caught.
Yeah, I'm caught. So
Yeah.
now I'm just gonna be high in front of you.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I believe I did that a few times with myself.
That was always like the moment where it was about to stop. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, because you're like so over the line with your wife or your girlfriend at the time, and like, you know, and then I would kind of like
Yeah.
get some normal time. You know, it just was like whatever, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucked for a little bit
Yeah,
going through that, dude.
yeah. I remember the first time I took a Suboxone. It was the pills, and they taste like oranges or something like that. If I remember, well, I was working at Hupp. This is shit like maybe like 15 years ago. And we're walking by, and this dude was a recovering dope head carpenter, and he had Suboxones. And I'm like, I'll take one. Same situation. Don't take the whole thing. Literally take half of half. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So I took half. You let it dissolve into your tongue. And within 20 minutes, I'm throwing up. And then it hit me, and I'm like, this is fucking great. It only cost me $10. I'm like,
Yeah.
are you fucking kidding me?
I never got into the subs. I don't know.
It's like a dirty Percocet high.
Yeah.
Like you're high, but it's not as fun as Perks.
I didn't like 'em.
But you're high.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know people say the same thing. Like
Yeah.
it's not as fun as a Perk high, but it would do the job.
Yeah.
And I would separate that in my head. Like, well, it's not as bad.
yeah, it's not as
Yeah.
bad. Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
same thing as the
yeah.
The Kratom.
the cradle.
God, that was terrible. Thank God you never got.
That should
That's
be
what it is. That's what it's called.
Okay.
He kept asking me, and I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know what it's called.
kratom,
Dude,
cradle.
I was in a fucking meeting. I don't know.
Just learned about an AA meeting.
Yeah,
you
5
know?
years ago, and dude's
great.
Dude's, you know,
Is that long
supposed-
ago?
Yeah, I forget. It was the dude that helped us with the carpet. Remember we were driving the carpet to Morrisville?
Oh, and I said he was like, I was like, that's an
Yeah.
attractive guy. He's
Yeah.
had a lot. Didn't you say he died?
He
or
died,
something?
yeah, from fentanyl. But he shared about taking Kratom, and I'm like, "Fuck's this about?" I literally left the meeting, went to the tobacco store, and bought it. This is it's fucking great. It was $20.
It's
It
the
was-
same. What? It's the same high too. Like
it's similar to Suboxone High.
Okay.
Similar, and you buy it at the tobacco store. It's like it looks like a ginseng bottle. You drink it.
yeah.
And it's the fucking devil. The first time it made my stomach sick, so I was like, all right, I just gotta eat a little bit before I take it next time. And then that was just and again, in my head, I'm like, I'm not taking perks, I'm not taking subs, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like
You're
lying,
always
sneaking.
justifying it.
Yeah, my eyes still look the same.
Yeah.
I still feel the same when I'm not on it, and it's just a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was surprised when I went to rehab. I was embarrassed to say it. But there's dudes in there.
Because that's what you went for the last time.
Well, it was I took perks and I was on perks and coke for like 2 weeks before I went to rehab. Because
Okay.
once you caught me the last time, I was like, well, I'm going to do what I really want to do. And I just got a bunch of perks and coke and went down the shore for 2 weeks. And
Yeah, living his best life.
yeah, but it,
I was like, you just were like getting high down the shore by yourself. He's like, oh yeah, no, it's whatever that dude's. I call him Fat Joe,
Yeah,
but I
Fat
don't know what
Joe.
his real name is. And I'm like, oh, it's
But
great. He
the-
was blowing lines in our place down the shore.
yeah, he was.
Just living life.
Yeah, going to the
But
casino.
the gist of it is, it's still the
Meanwhile,
same.
you're
You still
home.
Yeah,
feel
like,
the
yeah,
same.
Working
He's
20
on
hours a
vacation.
day.
Yeah, what a
Just
fucking nightmare.
living life.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah. But it's different. It's different now.
Yeah.
You know what I
There's
mean?
so many different things that you can get high with now,
For
dude.
sure.
It's just fucking crazy.
Yeah. So
Like
before I went to rehab, like a couple months before, I got antidepressants from hims.com.
Oh my god.
I
really?
tried-
I didn't know you can do that.
Yeah, so I just faked the whole fucking thing.
crazy.
I went to not a hypnotist, but like a medium.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I got the weed gummies, the THC. I went to the fucking like weed store up in like Levittown. And I'm like, look, I'm addicted to perks and kratom and I can't stop. What do you think would help me get through this? And she's like, do this and this, but only take this and this.
Oh my God.
And dude, I'm in my job trailer, just me by myself. The PM was off that day, and I couldn't even leave the trailer. I was so high. I was never a weed smoker,
Yeah.
but like it was like that. I couldn't even get out of my chair. And this fucking the superintendent for the roofers comes in. They're about to start in a couple of weeks, and he wanted to go over the drawings.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I couldn't
dude.
even see what we were looking at, dude. So it was
my
so
God, I
bad.
can't
Like
imagine.
it was terrible. Like I'm supposed to be in
cannot
charge of this
imagine
fucking
that.
thing. I can't even like have a conversation with this guy because I'm so high. And luckily,
And you're trying to go over Prince and shit.
Dude, I couldn't even like because you're in the union now, so you know,
Yes.
like it's. I'm like, what are we even looking
Yeah.
at, dude? And we're talking about manpower, and I'm like, dude, it was so bad.
This is not good.
Yeah, anything but really getting sober. I was trying.
And that's the other dude, the THC and the gummies, everything is so fucking strong. Like I
It's
used
so
to smoke weed all the time in high school. Like that was like one of my biggest I loved smoking weed. Now I feel like if I even just like I'll go golfing and my buddies will have like those pens.
The weed pens, yeah.
And like the one time I hit his pen, I thought I was on the fucking moon.
Yeah, for hours.
I was like, this
For
is not
hours.
okay.
It's not
Like,
like,
I want, I shouldn't like this. Like, how do you function with this? Like, how do you have this in your pocket
Yeah.
all day and you're just like puffing away on it? I'm like, this is fucking not okay. So,
Yeah.
I can't do that anymore. Like the weed shit. Like everything is just so fucking strong.
yeah, yeah.
That I can't get involved with that.
So
It's just-
your relationship prior to this was not great. So what is it like now? I mean, like, have you been able to rebuild? Obviously, had your
Probably-
baby, right?
Yeah, it's probably the strongest it's
Babies.
ever been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Because you seem like a no nonsense person, like Megan, and I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'd say we're like this. Say I'm like from like A to B, like how I'm gonna get there, like just a straight, and not like this. I feel like Amanda's the same way. Like,
Yeah.
what am I gonna do to get there?
No, I mean, I think we're good. Like, I mean, obviously, our life has changed dramatically. We have 2 kids.
That's
We've
right, too. I
been
remember.
married for, almost 6 years
We're coming
now.
up on 6 years, I think.
That's like us. Like, when did we get
Yeah.
married?
I know.
I know.
I got engaged.
Oh,
I never know.
It's either September 7th or September 8th, right? It's one of those days. I actually put it on my phone so I can
Remember?
it's a yearly reminder.
Yeah, you had to remind me last year. You're
Yeah.
like, he was talking about tomorrow, and I'm like, what?
What's tomorrow?
Like, I literally was like, what are you talking about? And he was
Yeah.
like, our anniversary. I was like, oh, so no, but I mean, we're honestly great. Like, we really don't fight, like, ever. Literally, like, he really is my best friend.
Yeah,
We
it's
like
awesome.
we talk about everything in life together. Like, there's nothing that.
We're just a team.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and we just almost move in tandem together.
Yeah.
Like, we like, even when it comes to stuff in the house, like if he's doing one thing, I'm doing the other. Like, we just know
Yeah, like
without
the flow.
even, we have that like unspoken flow. And I mean, he is like, I were just talking about how I said like, oh, I know the person I fell in love with is still in there, and you're like, he has proven me right in all of those aspects. He's
Yeah.
an incredible dad. He literally is an incredible dad. It warms my heart to like see him giving our kids the life that like I think he feels like he missed out on a little bit with his dad. Like as they got as he got older, but like that makes our relationship so much stronger just
Yeah.
to see that and have that. And I also like had addicts for parents, and to know that we can create this life and we can break the cycle and we don't have to live in like this, oh, well, this is the card, like this, these are the cards we were dealt, and like
So you
this
just
is
wild.
fine.
I always say you were like, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So I mean, like, because I think all three of us, not necessarily Megan, had the same kind of situation growing up. Like my dad was a heroin addict. You know, from 8th grade to senior year, full blown junkie. Mom left my sister and me with him. We watched him detox. It was fucking bad. I
Yeah.
mean, and I went the same direction as him, and so does my sister. And you went the same direction.
I know it's
and
kind
you went the opposite direction.
Yeah, it's so
I know.
crazy.
Yeah.
You think you see that you wouldn't go, but I guess you just
Well, I always
I
say
disconnected it.
it like taught me like what I didn't want. Like
Yeah.
it showed me like that is not the life I want for myself. So I'm going to do anything in my power to not end up there. So like we talk about, like you guys are talking about all these, like I've literally never done a drug in my life. Like because I was always scared that
Yeah.
if I did, I was
None
gonna
of
take
our
me from
none of
zero-
our friends.
zero
We just
to
were just
1,000.
heavy.
Yeah.
I would always say to
I'm-
her, like, nobody does drugs.
I mean,
like,
don't
'cause
get
they
me
drink
wrong.
a lot.
I know.
You
I
drink
used to
a
think
lot.
that too. I was
She,
like,
it was like no one took anything.
like, not even
Like,
back in your
No.
guys' fucking heyday, like I used to think somebody like was
No.
keeping something
No,
up their
not-
ass, dude.
not-
At least
No.
like an Adderall.
No,
Yeah.
I would take
No.
Adderall here and there with,
Yeah.
Because back
but
at the frat, dude, that was Amanda's apartment. They would just
Yeah.
get fucking
bad
annihilated.
for like 4 days straight, like benders.
benders, like straight benders.
Yeah.
Because we would wake up and just start drinking again because like there was still stuff in the fridge.
Mm-hmm.
And like I would come home from, I had a career at this
I know
point.
she let me stay at her house for free, like literally,
I
like
literally,
nothing.
I had a career. That's why we called it the frat, because like a lot of our friends didn't go away to college, and I was working, had my own apartment. I got my first apartment at what,
It's-
17,
Yeah,
18?
like, yeah.
And I was
So
living on my
young.
own at that
Yeah.
point. So it was just like a free for all.
Yeah, I would say 17, 18.
I didn't even have a key to the door. I would come
No,
home
yeah.
from work. I would literally work an entire, sometimes 14-hour shift at the hospital, and I would come home and there would be 35 people in my house, like just
Yeah,
bashing,
just full
and I would just be like,
banger.
"All right, like I guess
I'm up."
I'm
Yeah.
joining." Like,
Yeah.
and we would go hard.
Yeah, we did.
There was no. There was no like limit. Like we would just drink until we passed out.
Yeah.
What was it like growing up though for you with your parents? Like I don't know how much you want to disclose. Like
I mean, it was so I wasn't always bad. Like I had a fine like childhood, probably till
Same.
I was like 10, 11.
yeah, right about 8th grade, it shit
Yeah,
got weird.
that's-
And
kinda
then that's
same.
where like everything went awry. My mom got in a really bad car accident. Literally almost died.
Her
People in
friend
a,
lost her foot, right?
lost
in
her
that
leg.
accident?
Like it was like, yeah, it was bad. But my mom was always, I mean, my mom had me literally at 16. My mom was pregnant with me at 15, had me at 16. So like when I'm saying I'm 10, she's 26 years old. Like,
Right,
and
Jesus
this is
Christ.
happening to
Yeah.
her. But she was always like a heavy drinker, and like that's just kind of where everything fell apart. Cause my dad was always like my rock. Like he was perfectly fine. And then like as that dynamic kept happening between my parents, like my dad kind of, went down a path that I would have never expected. Like my dad was always like had a great career, was so smart, like I mean still is. And that's where I was like kind of living with my mom, between my mom and my grandmom, because he was still down living in like Frankfurt neighborhood. Like that's where we lived. That's where I grew up until 5th grade. And that's when he kind of went down the like beaten path, and like he was like, once he hit the path like bad. And like my mom, I would live with here and there, but like she was always actively addicted to something, whether she was drinking, whether it was drugs, like just anything. That was just kind of my norm. And that's why one of the reasons I got an apartment so early is I was like, I can't live like this anymore. We were moving 3 times a year. Like I was living out of trash bags. Literally, I was living out of trash bags because we would move so often that it wasn't worth me unpacking. Like
Really?
he jokes all the time. Like we drive around like random neighborhoods, and I'm like, oh, I used to live there. And he's like, what?
Where
Like,
haven't you lived?
yeah, like I have lived in every neighborhood in Philly. Like I have lived everywhere. I would move from street to street sometimes. Like literally,
No
like we were just
shit.
always on the go. So like, and that's where I like just got sick of being caught up in that life and was like, all right, I need to figure something out for myself. And then I just hit the ground running and like went.
Yeah.
To
I was
school
saying, look at
and
you,
got a
and you're still in school. Are you
I know.
getting your PhD right now?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Amanda's
So-
been in school literally since kindergarten.
It's insane.
I'm like, when are you going to
He
stop?
jokes all the time. He's like, all right. He's like, well, what are you going to do after this?
like, is
And I'm
this
like, oh, I'm
done yet?
done. And he's like, yeah, okay.
You'll
He's
find
like, you'll
something
find
else.
something. I
No,
will.
yeah, she's literally
That's-
always been in school doing something.
It's almost like that's what became my addiction, is bettering
Yeah,
myself. Like my
absolutely.
addiction has become like learning and education
Yeah.
and like my career and like trying to like climb all of these like milestones of like I'm like it's almost
and she's just good at it, dude. It pisses me off.
it's almost like, a fault.
She'll
though.
have a test coming up that like the day before she would have been fucking 10 state sides or whatever deep, not know about this test. And then the test comes. She's like, oh, I got to take this test. I don't know when I'm going to get on it. 2 days later, she's like, oh, I got a 98. And I'm like, this is so annoying. Like, if I studied my hardest for this test,
Yeah.
I would have got like a fucking 74.
me,
like,
me too.
it would drive. It drives.
What track
me
were you in
nuts.
high school?
Third.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I feel like I should have been in fourth, but I was in third. But yeah, she everything comes like effortlessly for her.
Good for
Yeah.
you.
In terms of that stuff, like she just fucking amazes me in that sense. Like she just does it, dude.
Yeah.
I know. I think it amazes us too. You know.
But it's almost kind of like a fault. Like I want so hard to like not be like that, and that not like that was like another kind of hard thing when he was in active addiction. I was like, we can't do.
I was
we can't do this
dragging
again.
her down.
Yeah, like I was like,
that was
can't.
I always felt like I was dragging her down because she was just
I was on
so
go.
fixated on her job, her career, school, and then she had like this second part of her, which was me, who had nothing going for himself.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted to get high.
That's
And
it.
That was it.
This is like totally off subject, but you let me and Gerardo take your car at the frat. Maybe to
Oh
pick
my
up
God,
alcohol. Like I definitely was drinking.
Yeah.
I don't even know where we were going. But just looking back, I don't even know what made me
Was
think
this
of
the
that.
time you made me get on the phone with your dad? I remember that.
It was probably
That's
like
Mr. Maloney to you.
Well, no, that might-
That was probably our last.
yeah,
That was probably our last bender that we.
yeah.
went
That
on.
was like our last like heavy hurrah. That was
Yeah.
that was probably like that was top notch bender.
That was when you were going to punt Tucker into traffic. That's how
No.
that wasn't that. That was
No,
the
that
continuation
was
of that
that
weekend.
was Sea Isle.
Yeah, but wasn't that a continuation of that weekend?
No,
Well, I remember bringing Pete around. He was like, dude, he's like, are they always like this? And I was like, yeah, pretty much, dude. They like to party. Like that was it.
Yeah, that was a problem for me in the beginning, dude. She would get so fucked.
yeah, but I was
Meg-
drunk, but I wasn't
I look
wild.
at Meg
Like,
now, and I'm very
Meg,
like,
you've always been wild.
but Meg has changed fucking substantially.
there you go.
My buddy Gonzo said as soon as she falls in love with you, dude, she'll start to
Yeah.
level out. It took a
Yeah.
couple years,
And she
but
totally has.
well,
dude.
she has like the switch in her, dude.
Yeah.
It's like it's,
I know.
And you see the eyes. It's like us, and the eyes change, and I'm like, oh, here we fucking go, dude.
come on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 But
Every once in a while, I still like to get a load on.
So what's it like now? I mean, like you got your two sons. Is it two sons or is it boy and
a
girl?
boy and a girl.
Boy and a girl.
yeah.
You're in the union now.
Yeah.
Do you think this is all like kind of like a direct result of stop getting high, or do you
Yeah,
think
I mean, there's a few things that we didn't touch on yet. I feel like we are all over the place. But
Yeah.
after we got married, I was working in a steel yard right on State Road.
I remember at Tina Rich's party you were doing that.
Yeah.
Right. The party they had in the
That was
backyard.
COVID. That was COVID.
Okay.
I might have been working at Holtec at that point.
Okay.
But I remember getting a job, and I was like I said, I had like a year and so sober. And then we got married, and then so this place was just like a fucking breeding ground for just dudes were just doing fucking perks in the fucking bathroom. Like I knew it was around, and I was working there for long enough at this point to know that if I ever wanted to get high, I
was there.
I could get high very
Yeah.
like easily, and I think that's what ended up happening. I don't even remember the first time. Like I was like, "Oh, you got per?" And he was like, "Yeah," and because it was after we got married, and then I ended up starting. I was getting high again, and then we moved to fucking Jersey.
Oh yeah.
And then that place that I was working at closed down. So then one of the welders that I worked with got me a job at this place called Holtec. Now, I was using perks again at this point.
Like back to normal.
Pretty back to normal.
And I don't, you know what I mean? Not normal, but
yeah.
like normal, like how we do it.
Her leg's stuck.
Tucker. Taking down wires.
I think we're good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we lived in Jersey at the time. My place I was working at
Was in Jersey.
Was in Jersey. It was
This
like
is
10
all
minutes,
relevant
it was
when you
like-
hear.
It was like 10 minutes away, and now I was fully relapsed at this point. I would get done work, and I would go meet my dealer in Philly, and do all this before she got home from work. Mm-hmm. So this was going on for a few months. And the one fucking day, dude, I'm waiting at the,
That's what you told us.
I'm waiting at the fucking Harbison Wawa,
This is crazy.
dude. And I'm sitting there, my dude, he's about to pull up. I see him pull up in his car. And then all of a sudden I see her in my mom's fucking Cadillac. She borrowed her car for, she
My
had
car was like getting serviced. Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, this cannot be, like, this isn't real. I don't-
Yeah, the opposite of divine intervention.
this is not happening right now. So she fucking sees me and starts like coming over. And my next thing to do is I just act like I didn't see her. I pulled away, dude. I fucking pull away while she's banging on the
I'm
window.
like slamming on the window.
And
I was like, I look like a crazy person.
Dude.
Like, here we are again.
Yeah.
Now I look crazy.
Literally just pulled away, and I'm in my head. I'm like, I don't know what to fucking do right now. So I start driving back to Jersey. She calls me. She's
You
like,
didn't get the pills.
No.
Which is the worst.
Yeah.
Because you're there.
Yes.
Like, and just the fact that you drove there, you're like, you know, you're already feeling
What a
great.
fucking waste. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is when shit hit the fucking fan because she's like, I'm following you home, pack your shit and get the fuck out. And that was like the first time she really gave me that ultimatum. And this was after I put her all through that shit. I was supposed to be fucking sober at this time.
Yeah.
And that's when I really fucking knew because when I got home, she pulled in right behind me and she's like, just pack your shit and get out. I don't care where you go. I don't care who you call. She's like, this is it. She's like, we are done. And I remember thinking like, holy fuck, like this is it. Like I've never seen her like that before. She never talked to me like that before. She never gave me an ultimatum like that before. So I did. I packed like a little fucking bag. I made sure I had like my work shit with me, fucking. And then I left. And I remember
Well, in that time too, you were trying anything to stay.
to stay. Yeah.
He was like,
This is all in one night.
this is
all-
all like
Yeah.
as soon as I literally by chance saw him.
That's
out of the corner of
wild.
my eye.
That's so
Yeah.
crazy.
For I
Yeah.
don't normally like I
like
was
the lady
working
on the
down.
plane.
I was
Dude.
working down in Frankfurt, like which I'm not always down there.
Yeah.
I'm down there by
What are
chance.
the odds?
And
I
I
don't
needed to
fucking
get
know.
gas. But the last time I got gas leaving work down there, I went to the Luke Oil because like that's the one that's like literally
Yeah.
directly on the way. And some girl was trying to sell me like cleaning products for money to get to like the casino. I don't know. And I was like, I'm not going back to that one. So I went out of my way to go to the Wawa for gas.
Yeah.
Like by chance.
The one that
I
happened
had
to be
no
at.
reason.
So
No
crazy.
reason to be down there. And I was like,
I couldn't believe that fucking happened.
Banging on the window.
That's just another one.
Meg,
of
I was
those-
like a psycho. I literally was like a psychopath. And
Did you
that's
have any thoughts that he was getting high prior to this point?
No, I didn't actually. I really
Because
didn't.
I mean, like you
We're
said.
good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we justify it by, I was only doing pills at this time. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't doing heroin again.
Yeah.
I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
but dude, I could not believe that. It was like I saw a fucking ghost. I could not believe she pulled in at that time that just so happened to be there.
And he had like I said, he worked in Jersey and we lived in Jersey. So he had
I had to go
no
over the bridge.
reason
Yeah.
whatsoever
Yeah.
to be in Philadelphia.
There was no
at the
talking
time.
my way out
Yeah,
of that.
there
So
was
that's
no-
why I just like moseyed off, like act like I didn't see this crazy, like she's fucking banging on my fucking window.
And I was like, what are you
Meanwhile,
doing?
My
And-
wife, we just got married like fucking 6 months ago.
Oh my god.
And when I said, what are you doing? He dead ass looked me in the eye and went, nothing. What are you doing? And I was like, you're kid. That like enraged me more. And I was
Oh
like,
my
I'm
God,
done. So then we get home. I'm like, yeah, pack your shit. Like, get out. Like, I'm done. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I have to get a divorce. Like, I'm like, I've been married for 6 or 8 months, and like now I got to get a divorce. Like,
Yeah.
this is insane. And he was like, well, like, what if I sleep on the couch because I work over here? I was like, I don't give a fuck. I was like, I don't care if you have to drive 3 hours to work. That's not my problem. That's your problem. You did that to yourself. Well, what about the dog? I'm not going to be able to. Can
to hang on to anything
Can I
you
come
could.
and see Lido? What, like, can I take him on weekend? Like, all of this shit. Like, and I'm like, no, dude. Like,
Get
get out. Just, and he like
Typical.
wouldn't leave. Like, he was like sitting on the couch, and like, I think he thought I was going to be like, all right, fine, you can like
Yeah,
stay.
like, give in,
And
yeah.
I was like, get out of this house. Like, I can't look at you right now.
Yeah.
Like, you're making it worse. Honestly, I think that's finally when you left because I was like,
Yeah.
you're making it worse right now. I was like, and I know that you have no, like, I knew he wasn't going to call his mom. I knew he wasn't going to call his sister. Like, I knew he wasn't going to face that. So I was like, that's why I said, I don't care where you go, who you call, what you do. I'm like, but you're not staying here. So good luck.
Where'd you go?
Dude, so I remember I was.
He's like down the street on the corner.
He was sleeping in the driveway.
I sat in the car for a little bit, and I'm like, just kind of staring at this.
Be honest. Did you get high after this?
I went to get high. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
way I wouldn't have
Yes.
done that,
Yes.
dude. You had to. It was in
but-
you.
Yeah, I remember I was driving over the bridge, but at this time I'm like, fuck, dude, like this is it.
This is bad.
So I had a moment where I parked at the bottom of the bridge, and I thought about walking up to the bridge and jumping. Like that's where I was. I was like in my head, I was just like, I'm done. Like I can't go to nobody. Like everybody thinks I'm doing good.
Yeah.
I just got married. Like life is supposed to be beautiful, and
yep.
here I was. Like I had nothing, dude. And I remember I parked at the fucking end of at the bridge, and I sat in my car for like solid 45 minutes to an hour, and I was like contemplating on whether or not just getting out and just ending it. And I mean, I don't know what came over me to not do it. I mean, obviously I'm
Yeah,
thankful
yeah,
that
yeah.
I didn't. But then I drove back to the Northeast because that's like the only place I knew. And I called my dealer. We met at the Dunkin' out front of Life or Death. I got high. And then it was like 11 o'clock was like the last meeting at Life or Death. And I was like, I got nowhere to go. I'm not calling my mom. I'm not calling my sister. And at this point, I hadn't talked to my dad in years. So I walk into Life or Death, and I just snorted like 230s. And all of a sudden, my dad walks in.
What?
Oh my God, another?
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
What?
And I hadn't talked to him for a few years.
I
at
have the
this point.
chills.
And he walks in, and we look at each other, and he was like, we were both just stunned.
Wow.
Just fucking stunned. And I told him what happened, and he's like, look, he's like, I got a small apartment. He's like, you can sleep on the couch if you want. Like,
Oh my God.
And I remember thinking like, wow, like this is really fucking happening, huh? Like
Holy
I got
shit.
nowhere else to go. At
He
this
was
point.
legit sober at the time?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So we finished up with the meeting at Life or Death, and I drove my car over to his apartment, and I slept on his couch for I don't even know how long. Maybe
Me either.
I want to say like a month, maybe even 2.
Damn, I didn't know any of this.
Yeah.
And you guys, like, were you talking, you two, at this point?
I was sending her texts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
trying to like.
Did you
weasel
talk to
my way back
anyone?
in.
I don't think so. Not really.
Isn't it
no.
kind of wild though?
Yeah.
Like you keep like kept that like so private. I would never have known
Yeah.
any of this unless you were talking about it. And I would say
we
like,
had just got like it was different this time because like now we're married.
Yeah.
Like now
Yeah.
I'm like we're fucking married. Like this isn't like we're boyfriend girlfriend. Like we're legally
Yeah,
married.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like we own
So
a home.
crazy.
What are like I don't know. Like
Yeah.
what do we do now?
Yeah, I detoxed on his couch for a week. I called out of work for a week, detoxed. And then I was going to meetings with him every day. I don't know what the fuck he was doing. He wasn't working. But I was doing that. And then I remember I had to get more clothes and shit. So he drove me back to the house. And I remember seeing my dog and the cat. And when I left the house, I got into his car and I just put my like head up against the window and I just started like
Broke down.
I just broke down, dude. It was like this, like I felt like this was it. Like I'm never gonna see that house again. I'm never gonna like be back in like I thought that was it. And I remember just doing the right thing for a little while. I remember I kind of called like all my friends. I was like, yo, this is where I'm at right now. Like, this is what's going on. And
Did you reconnect back with the AA dudes?
Yeah, a lot of them. Yeah. I never really, like, there's a few that I still talk to, like,
Right.
every single day. Like, but yeah, I did all that. And then I remember I had like to face the music with my mom too. Cause
They had no clue at this point?
no, my mom and I told my sister first. She's like, I was like, I'm staying at Daddy's. And it was just like silent.
Because I didn't even tell them.
It was just
I was like,
awkward
this
silence.
is not like I am not. Like I was at a point where I was like, he needs to like face this. Like I'm not gonna because that would have almost been me bailing him out by me being like, hey, like just so you guys know, like this is what's happening. Because like I would have like it would have almost been smoothing it over for him, where he didn't have to like face the music and say it himself. And I was at the point where I was like, this is on you. Like I have bailed you out of
you just
so
kinda
many
just wash your hands of it.
situations,
Yeah.
and like I've put myself behind you so many times that like this time you have to learn.
But
if
what are you
don't-
thinking at this point? Are you thinking the marriage is over? Or are you thinking like are you waiting for him to kind of get right to get back together? Or are you thinking this is it?
I think she was done.
Yeah, I think I was done. Like I was done. I think I was done. I don't really remember what changed. Like
I sensed it.
I
and that's
think
why I
back
was
to
like-
that time and like I almost black it out because like I don't really remember like how we rekindled or how we I know that he was just like doing the right thing for a while and like but like in my head I was like I am not going to be stuck on this broken
Path.
of like we're just going to do this all the time and like
Constantly
we had
doing
just
it.
got married so now I'm thinking about having kids and I'm like I'm not bringing my kids into this like I'm not doing it like I'm not having kids that are going to grow up in like this broken house like it's just not an option so like I just have to cut my losses here and be like all right we got married and now I'm however old 28 and I'm divorced like and
Yeah.
I move on.
What did you do to get through it? How did you make it work? Because I mean, you guys are like the fucking same, you two. It's amazing, and you guys never talked at all about each
No,
other.
yeah.
No.
Yeah. Dude, that I never been so scared in my life losing her that time.
Yeah.
Like, it was just because the first time when I went to rehab the first time, she was so supportive.
Yeah.
She had my back through everything. And part of me, like in the beginning, I was like, oh, she's gonna leave me. But then I realized she's not going anywhere. She's a fucking rider. Like she had my back for like through everything. And then when this happened, I genuinely thought I was going to lose the most important person in my entire life. And it just, something in me just was just like, I can't
Yeah.
afford to lose her. And it was just, that enough scared me enough to just, I like detox on my dad's couch. I was fucking night sweats, fucking everything. I was just like, I can't go rehab. I can't do that. And it scared me enough to not ever, like, to this day, like, I don't think about getting high anymore. Like, it's just because I was so scared of losing
Yeah.
her. Like, that was it. Like, if I lost her, I would be.
You don't even. You
I
don't
don't
want to
know.
think about it. You don't
Like,
even wanna
I think
about
the
it.
only reason I'm alive today is because of her. Wow. Like, I think because, I don't know, like, it's like that, driving over that bridge, that was the closest I've ever thought about ending my fucking life.
I get it.
And I think the spark that kept me going was her, like being newly married and just being so scared. Like I was just so fucking scared I was going to lose her. And yeah, it was just fucking emotional, dude. Like yeah, that was.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
I'm not gonna cry here.
But, like, I didn't know this was going to happen, but that's why we started this podcast because of what you just said. Like, the day before rehab was the most painful experience of my fucking life, dude. Everything you just said, you felt like. I remember sitting in my trailer, and I never thought about committing suicide, but I knew that living like this had to stop, and so I get it 100%, and like scared, no soul, like looking in the mirror, like what have you done, dude? Like, you know what I mean? When she caught me, I fucking went on a tear, and at some point, I'm like, I felt like I was losing my mind. Whatever insanity was, like that was me, and like that's like, and then it changes.
Yeah.
And then it changes. And like you said, you don't think about getting high. Like I can think about some fun things that I did when I was high, but like the thought of getting high fucking makes me sick, dude. It's
when it
like,
stops being fun, it's just not
brutal.
Yeah. That's when you know it's just over. You know what I mean? And it's not worth it. Like I can't. I look at my kids today, and I think about like I could never ever do this to them. Like just being there, the amount that I am now. I was thinking about it the other day. Like how much time I focused on going to get high.
Yeah,
that would take
24/7.
Yeah, it would take over what I have going on with my kids, and it's just if I were to do that, it would just ruin everything, dude. Like, and it's just not worth. Like I love being a father so much.
Yeah,
I look at my kids and I'm just filled with such just overwhelming emotion, like love and if it's one thing that I learned from my dad, like how he was, it's just like it's how not to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't want to throw him under the bus, but he has his issues. He helped me when he could. We don't talk anymore.
I was just going to ask you guys to talk.
Yeah, we don't talk anymore again. And that was more of his doing. He has to find himself. He has to figure out, because he's been doing it for fucking decades now, trying to put together a length of sobriety. Like he'll get maybe a year and then he'll fuck it up again. And it's just like, I can't put my kids around that right now. And I don't want to introduce them because he's done it to my niece and my nephew. Like he's been in their lives and
disappears.
And I don't want to to have to explain that. And I always I said it to him a few times. I said, time heals all things. Like you can't have everything back at once.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to put together, a good amount. And if anyone knows you, bet, like I know you. Like, and if I see you, because whenever he was getting high, I could always tell. And like, I remember he came over our house when we first moved into our house that we just had, like our new one in the Northeast here. And he came over and I remember looking at him and my sister was over and I was like, oh, this motherfucker, like I know he's fucking high, dude. I know he is. But I couldn't call him out because I didn't want to do it in front of my sister. I didn't want to start shit. And then sure enough, like a couple weeks go by, I get a phone call while I'm at work and it's from, I forget what hospital, but it was in like,
He was at like Methodist or something.
yeah, somewhere in Kensington. It was like, are you Anthony Gerardo? I was like, oh man, your father is here in Methodist Hospital. And I forget what the fucking, and I was just like, I don't know what to do. And then someone that he was with calls me and they were saying that he had cysts in his arms that got infected.
Like shooting up?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, fuck, dude. And then I tried calling him and he never called me back. I left a message. He never called me back.
Well, that's the thing. Like, he got the call because this is kind of right after like he was sleeping on his couch, so they rekindled like some kind of relationship, and they were talking, and that's why he came over the house, and like, so this is where they haven't talked since. Is after you tried to call him and he never called you back, and like that was just it. Like, and I wonder, like, I always wonder, like, it almost like he maybe couldn't like face you after that because of like you guys did meet and like have a common denominator at some point, and like you got better and he didn't. I don't know. I mean, I don't. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's been 3 years now.
Yeah.
Damn.
I haven't talked to him. But like she asked me, I don't know if that door's fully closed yet. he doesn't live like far. He lives like around the corner, I think. I don't know what would happen if I like ran into him. You know, it would just be, I would probably be just filled with
All types of emotions.
like weird emotion. I want to, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of where that's at. I don't really know.
Well, I think the beauty of it all was like, and I've said this a million times because, you know, when you're a kid and you're watching your parents get all fucked up on drugs, like my dad stole money from us. You know, the sheriff came and took our house. And what I asked Megan, and maybe you had a similar conversation with you, was if I can do what my dad did for me and my sister to her, like, you know, watching your dad do heroin, watching your dad relapse, watching your dad detox, and then get 20 years of sobriety before he passed away.
It's a beautiful thing.
He erased all the bad feelings to the bad memories.
Yes.
Like that's what I hang my hat on to.
Yes.
And I asked her if she would give me the opportunity to do that. And it sounds like you probably had some similar conversations.
Yeah.
Like just let me fucking day by day show you. And now you're here with two beautiful kids and like you guys are fucking great.
Yeah.
But team, you said it, right?
Yeah.
It's fucking
Yeah,
great.
I mean, I've listened to all your podcasts so far, or all the episodes.
Nice.
I kind of emulate the relationship that you had with your father. You talk so fucking highly of him.
Yeah.
And like, I want that for me and my son.
Absolutely.
And me and my daughter. Like, I want them to look at me the way you looked at your dad. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like that. It makes me emotional thinking about that because I just felt like I never had that. Like, I don't get me wrong. My mother, I am so close. Like, your dad is like my mom
It's amazing.
in
Yeah.
my life. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
she has been there
Yeah.
for everything. And she dealt with my dad and dealt with my bullshit. She dealt with like everything, dude.
Yeah.
And she's always been there. And like, when I say like, I want to be there I want to be a present parent. And I want them to come to me with anything, dude, anything.
Yeah.
And like, without being sober or, you know, without all this, like, that isn't possible.
It's not.
You know?
No.
And
It's
it's just, that is what keeps me going every day.
Yeah.
Like, I wake up every morning, I'm thankful that my life is the way it is.
Yeah.
So-
There's like nothing gave me more pride in my life than being around my dad, and he would say, "My son." Like if he was
Yeah.
talking to another person and I was there, and he said, "Oh, my son."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And him not being at my wedding was tough.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just. But you're gonna get that opportunity though, both
Yeah.
you guys. Like that's
Yeah.
amazing, dude. Like
Yeah.
it's like you know, unfortunately for me, like, you know, my daughter's 21 and we're like rebuilding now, and you know, it's just time. Like you said,
Yeah.
it takes time. It takes time, and
It's not fully broken. you know?
no, like we have a good relationship,
Yeah.
but we see things differently, and I think sometimes we need to find common ground. And I got to be a fucking grown up. I'm the dad. She's 21, so I need to be a little bit more empathetic and compassionate to some of the things that she feels. And sometimes it's hard. You know, it's a fucking challenge. Like I had my daughter when I was 19. You said your mom was 16. Like fucking little kids.
Yeah.
Little kids, dude. Like,
Kids having kids, dude. It's crazy.
yeah, and that's why I asked her. I'm like, you know, like I can't change any of the past, but
Yeah.
maybe you can understand a little bit. I was a kid when I had you. Like
Yeah.
I was 2 years younger than you are now when
Yeah.
you were born.
Which
you
is
know?
crazy.
Fucking
I can't
nuts, dude.
imagine
Oh,
that.
God.
Dude.
No,
I cannot
me
imagine
either.
that.
No, no,
And now she's 21.
I know.
Which is crazy.
In
You
2024,
do not look like you have a 21-year-old.
Thank
No,
you.
remember we
Which
went
is-
to Mexico? It was me, you, and Jid. I was like, people probably looking at us like, what's this dynamic thing going on here? You know what I mean? Like, they know I can't be the mom. Like, it's just like,
Something's not adding up
Jid
here.
was like 15.
Yeah.
I think we took her to Mexico. I'm like, people probably look at us like, what is going on?
Yeah.
That's kind of strange, but
Yeah, it's like, is that like, are they all siblings? Like,
Well, I think what's great, like just knowing you the little bit that I did, I know when you got into the union, I'm like, that's a big fucking deal,
Yeah,
dude. And
that
like,
was
you know,
huge.
You clean your life up a little bit,
Yeah.
and you find common ground with your wife and your family. Now you're back. You got in the union, with the insulators, right?
tin knockers.
Tin knockers, that's what it was.
Sheet metal.
Which is a great union.
disconnected from
Now we're good.
Yeah, it's
Second year, third year.
I'm coming up on my third year.
It's fucking awesome,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
I know from second to third year in carpenters, like you see a nice fucking bump.
Yeah.
And
so right now I'm in the year phase. Like it was every 6 months I was getting a raise, but now I'm in the year. I just
Yeah.
hit I have another 6 months to go till I get my next raise.
That's fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
I love it. And I love the fact that I got in when I did, because had I got into it when I was going through my fucking bullshit,
You might have got kicked out.
I probably would have ruined it. Which,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of did in a way. When I turned 18, I got into the steam fitters and I fucked that up by just wanting to party every fucking weekend.
And that's
not
that's
wanting-
probably the best. That and the elevators, those
Yeah.
fucking guys,
Yeah,
man.
so-
Steam fitters are like the smartest guys on the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's no question.
Yeah.
And they fucking act like it too.
Yeah, so I fucked that up. But you live and you learn, dude.
Yeah.
And when I got in, I was more like,
More you.
yeah, just
Present,
knowledgeable,
focused. Yeah. Willing to
I could
learn.
focus on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I want to be there. So everything all plays into one. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just being present is
Yeah.
just the biggest thing I could say. Like my life is just close to perfect. It's not perfect, but it's
No.
Yeah,
close.
yeah, we see the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like we don't know what a perfect marriage looks like, but we feel like we're close.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I had lunch with my buddy yesterday, which is like not something I normally do. We were talking. He goes to marriage counseling, and he asked me if we ever went, and we did go like 5-6 years ago. But I was getting high, so like it's whatever. But we don't fight. Just like you guys, we don't fight. We
Yeah.
disagree.
Yeah,
we literally
and
don't.
you know what I mean? Like we.
Yeah, there's
we,
no fights.
No, there's no screaming, no saying the C word anymore,
Yeah.
dude. Like
We've had some bad ones.
we've had some bad, all my fault, and like like
Oh, you maniac. I don't know how you were on drugs or how you guys felt when he was high, but Ant was like, if you could just picture like the Tasmanian devil,
Yeah.
like, and I would just be like kind of standing there, like, I wouldn't even say anything.
I'll never hit my wife, but I'll hit other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I was. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like the one time I think all the neighbors, remember that was like probably our biggest last July. No, 2 Julys ago.
I forget. I want to kick the couch.
Oh,
Brand new fucking couch, dude. I'm like, I fucking kicked it. And like at the last second, I held up just enough not to knock the fucking thing off, dude.
yeah, the neighbors. I'm like, oh, it's all good that the neighbors know that I'm a B, a C.
Yeah.
I just was working out in the garage and he came back and wanted to talk after. I'm like, dude, you're not ready to talk. Like,
No, I would always.
it was over the dumbest. It was actually like someone buying him a hat, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't even a serious fight. It was about someone buying him a hat. And it
usually
literally
dumbest
was
thing
like,
was the-
Well, it's something sets you off.
the
and-
dumbest
yeah.
thing set you off, and that's
Yeah.
usually
yeah,
where
it was
goes.
bad. I just sat there all calmly, like a little kind of cocky, and he just was like coming at me, remember? And you
Yeah.
like chucked the pen. I was like, you're crazy, man. I'm like, I'm not dealing with this
And
today.
Crazy, dude.
Meg's response to Pete, like just knowing Meg for so long, like I can imagine how easy it is to get enraged at her responses because she doesn't like feed into it. She'll just be like, yeah, all right, you're crazy. And like
Yeah.
you're like, what the fuck? Like,
Well, like-
because she doesn't she just has this way of being like, yeah, okay, like, and it's almost worse than her fighting back
Well-
with you. That's, I mean, obviously I'm not married to her.
No,
but-
yeah.
What would happen is if a situation came up where I knew she was wrong, like whatever it was, like you're not valid. This is not a valid point that you're making. You're wrong. And I would fucking freak out because she wouldn't understand that she was wrong. And then it would just escalate into this thing. And now I'm wrong.
Now, she wouldn't understand she was wrong, or she wouldn't admit she was wrong.
It's both.
Okay.
It's both. She couldn't find why she was wrong because she's a stubborn fucking
Oh,
Maloney.
wow. Dude. Used to are fucking 2 peas in a pod.
I'm
dude.
like, am I ever wrong?
So
now?
when I'm wrong, I find a way to flip it
Yes.
that I'm right. Like
It
I'm like,
drives me
oh
nuts.
well, I meant like, well, if you think of it this way,
Well, even now, like if we get into a disagreement and if she would curse at me, let's say, I'm like, I don't like that you just cursed at me. Like, you can't do that. So you've been doing it for 8 years. So I really need to be sober for 8 years before I can say like, fuck.
I said I got 8 years of bullshit.
That's great. you got 8 years to go.
I was like, 8 years, buddy. I'm like, we got that 8 years? And, I'm like, and then I don't have that excuse anymore.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But that story you shared, man, when she caught you, dude. Like that's
Dude,
the point of
that's
this whole thing.
divine
dude.
intervention
It really
again,
is, dude.
I feel like-
that's how she called me. Just randomly
Yeah.
called me.
Yeah, Amazon. I needed a password for Amazon and went through his phone. And I was like, I'm just going to just do a quick scroll. Quick little scroll.
Yeah.
And I seen they just left work at 6:30 and went home. And I'm like, well, I know his ass didn't go home.
Yeah.
Put down car. I know where he keeps his shit. And I'm like, motherfucker.
And what? You found
The kratom.
The kratom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you even know what you were looking at? It doesn't say. It
She
says
called me a
Kratom?
few times.
Yeah, I called him a
Yeah.
few times with that.
okay.
Yeah. And then I knew someone whose husband was taking it, so I knew.
I could have gotten away with this for years.
Yeah, we
but
were-
one of her friends' husbands went to rehab for it. So she already knew what it was about. And I'm like,
Yeah, and I caught you down the
I thought I
shore.
was like a genius when I found out about this
He's
shit.
like, it's an energy drink.
Yeah. Well, I knew. Well, when we were down the shore, I was getting changed, and he went outside. I'm like, "What's he going outside to his car for?" And then I watched because our condo is all windows, and I just watched him through the little driveway, and I peeked out. I saw him drink something. I'm like, "What is he drinking?" And then I heard a cling in the trash can. And I opened the door, and I was like, "What were you just doing?" Like literally, I opened it, and he was like, "Nothing."
What was that?
Yeah, he's like, I didn't do anything. I'm like, yeah, what'd you just throw in the trash can? He's like, nothing. I'm like, all right, I'll go out in the trash can and I'll go look. Like, what do you think? I'm not going to go out?
was
I'll
gonna
take
say,
it out.
if anyone's going in the dumpster, it's Meg.
Yeah. And then I said, give me your sponsor's number. I want your sponsor's number. And I was like, hey, this is, Megan, Anthony's wife. I'm like, and I sent him a picture. I'm like, should Anthony be taking this? And he was like, absolutely not. I was like, oh, well, he has been. Because you were, I think, going through the steps at the time.
Yeah, I forget.
Definitely were, because you were, I mean, at least you said you were going to do the steps.
I was
She skipped right over you, went to the sponsor.
Yeah.
She was like, fuck
Yeah,
this.
nah. I'm
but like any good addict. So the day she called me down the shore, I was starting a new job the next day, and I wasn't going. I was getting high every day, so I couldn't go sober. So I had another one, and I fucking as soon as I got a chance, we wake up like 4:00 Monday morning to go back to Philly to go back to start this job. I drank it in the morning. I'm like, on an empty stomach, I'm like, this is gonna hit hard, dude. This is great. And then it just kept going and going.
I know.
and
I still
going.
feel like every time he goes out in the car or does something, I always think he's up to something.
Yeah.
Still, like not always.
I get it. I get
But like
it.
every once in a while, I'm like, what the hell are you
You
getting in
guys
the
are
car?
still, I mean,
It's
how
still
many
fresh.
days do you have now?
Yeah.
7 months, 11 days.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty
That's-
great.
yeah,
It's
that's
fucking
awesome.
awesome.
I had to get over that feeling quick, because that's like where I say like, okay, like if I'm getting over this and we're moving on, like I need to get over that and not be like, when he's on his phone, who's he texting, when he's in the car, or like if he's not home within 10 minutes, like I
Yeah,
had
it's
to
so
do that
hard.
for myself,
Yeah.
where I was like, if I'm making the decision to say, okay, we're going to get through this and we're going to get back together and we're going to move on, I have to get rid of that, because I can't live my life every day being like, well, what's he doing in the car? What's he doing there? What's he doing? Because if I feel like that, then there's no point in us being together.
That's how I felt like prior to like this last time, being like, because I felt like, just okay, you told me he was getting high, whatever, okay. But this time I was like, if I cannot live my life, I'm like, because he's never going to change. It's going to be like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to live my whole life. I wait until he tells me he's high, even though I know he's been doing, shit this whole entire time. Then I felt validated, because I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I was right.
Yeah.
And then I would be like, one day I'd be mad, and then we'd be fine the next day,
Yep.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then it was just like this all the time. And I was just like, this time I was like, hell no. I'm like, help or not. And I'm like, get the fuck out.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean that I had to do that for myself, because like if like I said, I couldn't be like, oh, where is he? Is he really going to work? Is he doing this? And like
Yeah, you
live
drive
like
yourself
that.
nuts.
Drive yourself crazy.
Because if I am going to live in that state of like, oh my God, what's he doing? Where's he going? Who's he talking to? Like, then there's no point in me saying, okay, like we're gonna get over this. We can be together and we're fine, because then we're not. Like he could be sober, but like that toxic feeling of constantly being like, where are you going? What are you doing? Then
Just
like
having
there
no
is
trust.
There's
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
there's
Trust is
no
so
point in
big.
having a relationship. So
Yeah.
So, like, a question for you, like, you went to treatment, you had the sober time, you did the AA, you did the commitment. So, like, when we're addicts, we have that mindset. Like, I struggle a lot, like, mentally. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if I get, like, short-term depression,
Dude,
like
I've
just
heard you talk
self-doubt.
about
Like,
this, and
like
I
how do you
cannot
deal with
relate
that?
more. to
Yeah,
that.
it's
Because there's some days where you could be the happiest dude in the world, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden it's like a switch, and you're like, you find yourself listening to fucking sad like music, or in your car, and you're like, why do I feel this way? And it's just, I've felt like that for so long.
yeah, it's fucking brutal.
That it's just, I feel like those times, the longer you start dealing with it, the shorter they get each time.
Yeah.
they're-
Yeah, I can see that.
Like I can't tell you that I'm happy all the time anymore, but the times where I'm sad and depressed are shorter.
Shorter, and they happen further apart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there was, dude, when you talk about it, I feel like, oh my God, dude, like there are like, if you can just listen to my fucking, my phone and see what songs I've been listening to, it's a dead giveaway.
Yeah.
Like if I'm listening to like these sad ass songs, that's where I'm at in my head.
Yeah.
And then when it's like the happy shit, that's where I'm at. Like it's just, I'm a dead giveaway with that shit, but not all the time.
Like sometimes I'm the most confident guy on the planet, and
Yes.
sometimes I'm like, if you stepped on my shoe, I want to cry.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
sometimes I'm withdrawn, and then sometimes I'm like, I'm Mister. Just I'll talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And
I think
it's
this is part of like where I'm like, okay, like that part of me, like that's whatever. All right, it's fine. We'll figure it out. We'll get through it. It's not that big of a deal. Like there are things that are so like minute and minimal that he will like encompass into like this big thing and be like, oh my God, well, like this one little thing went wrong and I can't do this anymore. And oh my God, it's always something like, and he gets that like doom, like almost a feeling of doom. Like, and he thankfully talks about it a lot. I know there's times where he doesn't, but like, and where I'm like, all right, it's fine. Like, oh, all right. Like the washer broke, like whatever. We got to put the money, like it is what it is, where he's like, oh my God. And like, we're just like, it's all this money. And like he was going through a lot, like his car, like, and and like that little stuff that's everyday things. I'll notice he starts to get like that withdrawn, like, oh, like,
throw my
woe is
routine
me.
off
That's it.
a little bit.
Yeah.
That's when I start like, things start just like unraveling in my head.
Yeah. Like not to the point where like, you're not going to get high. It's just,
but
but
it's
something's
like,
fucking off.
Yeah, I'm not the same person. Like I'm like sad, I'm emotional, I'm pissed off. Like
Yeah.
and
Can't
it's
talk
just-
to him.
Yeah, exactly. She knows me so fucking well. But that's how I get. Like if one little thing in my routine gets thrown off, I get thrown off. Mm-hmm. And that's how I keep myself straight is I have my routine.
Yeah.
And then when these things do happen, I learn from it. Mm-hmm. And I think talking about things is like the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, I've gotten better with that.
So
with
you gotten
her.
better, man. He would never
Like,
talk.
If you can just share how you're feeling and talk about things, you feel so much fucking better.
Yeah.
And I learned that through going to meetings.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I would start, I worked up enough courage to raise my hand and share my story, how I was feeling that day.
Yeah.
I felt immediately better.
do.
And everyone talked about it prior to that. They were like, dude, if you just talk, you'll feel better.
Yeah.
And that's what I started doing. I started raising my hand. I started, and you just start feeling better and better the more you talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like what was this Friday night? We were actually talking about, we were coming on this podcast with my family and they were like scared for us to go on the podcast. And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, why? Why are you guys scared of us going?
Yeah, they didn't want us to do it.
They're like, well, we don't want you guys to bring up old things and like you guys are so good right now. Like, and I was trying to explain to them, I'm like, talking about things makes me feel better. Like, I'm not forcing her to go on it. Like, she wants to go on it with me, and like, they want us to come on and share our story. Like, it's all about being able to talk about it. And like, I love them so much, but their mindsets is like, it's kind of like, once it's happened, they want to brush it under the rug and never talk about it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they realize that we talk about it.
Yes.
Like no matter how much time has passed, he's still a recovering addict. Like
for sure.
And that's that I have accepted that. Like that's our life, and like it is what it is. And like we talk about it, and we'll sit at dinner sometimes and just talk about like, oh, like sometimes he'll go into how he's feeling and like and I think it's helpful that I can kind of wrap my head around the fact that like it doesn't just go away. Like it doesn't just like once you go to rehab, like that addiction, like that addictive personality doesn't go away. Like I know that's something he deals with regularly. And like, I know that's, something that's always going to be like I don't know, like a chemical reaction in your head,
It never goes away.
And like,
it's never not going to be there.
No. And like, that's why I think we can talk about it, because like, I'm not like, well, why are we talking about this? What are you thinking about doing drugs? Like what, like, I know that it's just like, okay, like we live this and let's talk about it if you feel like you want to talk about it tonight or, whatever. So we talk about it fairly. I mean, I wouldn't say regularly, but enough.
Yeah.
Where like I wasn't worried, like we were going to come on here and I was going to feel some type of, like this is us having, we've been talking for what, almost 2 hours now?
Yeah,
Like
2 hours.
This is not as long as I expected to sit here, but like this is normal. Like there's, we can talk about it and like I don't feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, you two and my relationship with Megan, that's the reason why we started this thing, because like to deal with all the addiction, how we are, and how it affects our spouses and our families, like, and to get to the other side of it, it's like, it's fucking a miracle, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been drinking and getting high for over probably a decade and a half.
Probably more than you were sober.
Oh, 100%. You can't even compare.
Yeah.
8 years from now, it'll be a different story. But like that's
He has that marked on his calendar.
Yeah.
8
year
years.
mark.
that's the
When the
beauty
alarms
of
are
it,
going to go off.
Big mark.
you know, like just like we joke around all the time, like just hearing happiness in her voice, dude. I took it away for fucking
Yeah.
years, dude, for years, and then every time it came back, I would take it away again, dude.
Yeah, like like I said, we never really talked about it, but we definitely lived in like this broken, like, like beat down state for a long time. And like we just trucked through it because like that's who we are. But like it was not like all rainbows and sunshine.
No.
And it wasn't like, oh, we are like strong.
Yeah.
Like strong women and like we can deal with it, but it doesn't mean that it didn't suck. Like,
Yeah.
like I put my shoes on every day and was like, all right, well, this is just what I got to do. And like, that's fine, but it doesn't mean it didn't suck. It's
No.
just, we just trucked through it.
Yeah, I've had clients be like, "Oh my god, I had no idea that you were going through any of that." I'm like, "Well, how would you know? Yeah. Like, what am I just going to be like? Oh yeah, my husband's a drug addict, you know, and I'm dealing with this today. You know what I mean? I found shit in his car.
I didn't really know you were like that either up until Tina Roos's and their wedding. Remember
yeah.
we were talking out back
Yes.
and we were just talking about how much we love Berks.
Yeah, I actually was gonna ask you
Meanwhile,
that
me and
night
Meg are like,
if we could find some to get some. Like once I thought like, all right, well he's definitely doing them too. Like I'll just ask him. I just couldn't get up enough courage
Yeah.
to be like, yeah, can we get some somewhere? But like,
Yeah, all of a sudden you two left the party, and I didn't even know. Even like sitting here listening to your stories, I never really knew that about you either.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's,
Like the extent of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, he had some drug issues, but never fully, you know, knew like how hard it was for you.
And that's the thing. Like, I'm an open book about it. If
Yeah.
someone asks me about it, I'll tell them my whole fucking story.
Yeah.
But I'm not like broadcasting it.
No, yeah.
well, now you are.
Well, we were too, and I'm not gonna lie. The first time when Ann said he wanted to write a book and do all that stuff, and I was gonna do a podcast, like not actually thinking, but I should have known better that like he's crazy that he would do it. And then we did it, and I was like hating every second of like us doing the first episode and then the second, and we fought because I was like, oh, I'm outing my life, and I said my friends don't even know what's going on. No one knew. Like I didn't tell Autumn. Like my mom knew. I didn't even talk about it with Laura. Like I kept a lot of it like really private because I just wanted to deal with it on my own, and I
well, like my perspective, maybe you agree. Like once you're on the other side of it.
now I'm better with it.
Addicts have the potential to be amazing people, and that's why I didn't care who knew.
Definitely get the drive.
No, I get it, but like I didn't care, and I don't care, like because I feel like I'm on the other side of it, and whatever comes down the pike or whatever, like I'll be okay, and I can handle it. And like I feel like that's a
'Cause we've
special
handled
thing that we
worse.
have. Yeah, like because and I talked about it before, like the pain of my dad died. That pales in comparison to the day before rehab.
Yeah.
I was fucking done, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Couldn't
That
stop.
feeling, yeah.
You know, I no, there's nothing worse than wanting to stop and you can't. It's fucking brutal.
It's
you know?
truly one of the worst feelings.
Going to bed every night. I'm not going to do it tomorrow.
Yeah. And you would tell yourself, like, I think I heard you talk about it, how all I need is 3 or 4 days to
Yeah,
get
it's
over
so
that hump.
weird.
I would do the same fucking thing. I would do the same thing. I would,
That's
once
so
I get to that 4th day, I'll be good. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was only him. I'm like, dude, I'm like, why are you telling yourself 4 days? Like, why can't it be like,
Dude, I heard him say that, and I was like, oh my God, I did the same fucking thing. Like, it's we do the same shit.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. Like, so one of the craziest things that I would do during my addiction was I would get different jobs. Like I was bouncing from back and forth to different jobs, and I would get this dude. I would have this guy. He would piss for me, and he would piss for me in a cup or in a bottle, and I would go get the bottle, and then I would have my interview, and then they would make me piss in a cup.
Yeah.
But I would fill a condom with the piss, and I would tape it to my leg with leg warmers on it, and then I would have
It's amazing.
I would have
It's like, what?
I would have a clothespin taped to that,
Oh my God.
and then they would go ask me to piss, and then I would have the piss, it was warm up
Yeah.
against my leg, and I would piss in a cup, and it would come back fucking clean. I would get the job.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I think back on that, dude, like that's just fucking pure madness.
Insanity.
At its
That's insanity.
Yeah.
That's like a
like
movie.
that's crazy. Like I did that like 3 or 4 times. I was like, this another job interview.
Yeah,
Like,
I got
know what
this.
to fucking do. Like
It's funny that you're saying because like you had like in that time you did have multiple jobs, and
Oh, yeah.
I think this is again just my opinion, so you could correct me if I'm wrong because I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think that you were constantly jumping jobs too because you felt like if you could get a job that made you feel like you were like
Yeah.
worth something, it
Yeah.
wasn't like a dead end job that was like all you needed to get better.
Yeah.
And like that's
Yeah,
just
no.
like me
Yeah, I was-
from looking in on the outside, but like now that I know everything, like I see that you were probably like, well, if I can just get this job, then I'll make something of myself, and then I won't have to like I
Yeah.
need 4 days, and then I'll be
Yeah,
fine,
yep.
and like because you were so worried that like you were like a nobody or like you said earlier, like dragging me down because like I was, moving
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you felt like you were just like stuck and you were like, all right, well, if I could just get a better job or whatever the case may be, like that will fix all of this other stuff that's going on when obviously that's not the case. But
Yeah.
I think that was your mindset.
That
all the
was a big part of it because I felt like just a loser.
Yeah.
And I was just constantly bouncing back and forth between jobs, and finally found something. Like I finally just got my life together.
That's the beauty of it.
You know?
That's a big deal. I mean, the tin knockers, dude.
yeah.
Like you change your life. You get in a union. Like you have your 2 beautiful kids. Like that's
Yeah.
a big fucking deal.
Everything's good now. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just-
we do. We have a beautiful life now.
you
So
win.
I want to. One crazy thing I used to do. I would wake up in the middle of the night without an alarm clock, and know if I took a little bit of a sub in the middle of the night, when I wake up, I'll feel fucking great.
Yeah.
And like I would just do that. Like my clock would go off in my head at like 3 a.m. She'd be sleeping next to me. I'd go to the bathroom, take a little piece. I'm like, all right, I'll wake up high. This is gonna be great. Fucking loser.
That is just fucking. I love it, dude.
Can you not sleep off something like that? You know, if you like drink and you can like sleep off like a buzz or like a drunk.
Nah, I would take it 3, 4 in the morning, wake up at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I'd be high as a kite, like, and I would feel like I'm gonna win the day.
Oh my.
It's great.
So
But it's great that you can talk about it now.
because it's over.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, the best thing about the meetings is like, it's not a funny thing to share how you ruined your life. It's more like you're laughing out of relief that it's
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
It's done.
It's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for doing this.
Yeah.
Anything,
Yeah.
You guys anything you want to say to close it out?
Not that
Boss?
I can think of.
No,
Don't put me on the
I always put
spot.
her on the spot.
No,
Okay.
I got nothing. You guys got anything?
This is gonna have to be 2 parts.
think
We've been
we're-
talking.
I know, we
forever.
haven't
Crush it, dude.
Yeah,
we
we
did.
should do part 1, part 2. That's actually a good idea.
You could do that.
Yeah, because I'd like just segment it like part 1 of whatever we want to like. We'll come up with a
Well,
title.
once you shared the story about the bridge and getting caught, like the whole thing shifted.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so
I know.
maybe
We were
we
kind of
should-
laughing
Yeah.
like right before that. and
You
I
almost
was like,
cried.
Yeah.
I was over here tearing up. I was getting the chills like multiple times. It's wild.
Well, I appreciate you guys doing
Yeah.
this, man. This
Thanks
is
for
like,
having us.
This
Yeah.
is like, it was like nervous for me. You said you were a little
Yeah, I
nervous.
was
Like,
nervous.
I'm still getting used to the whole, like,
I'm gonna be nervous like when it comes out. So.
Yeah.
well,
She's going to be nervous about listening to her voice.
We'll send
That's
Ann-
her thing.
That's, I was
sends
nervous to
it
put these on
before
because I didn't want
we-
to hear my own
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah, and we'll send it to you guys before we
Okay.
even like
Yeah,
put it
I-
out there.
Yeah, that's
It's fine.
fine.
perfect. Well,
Just so you got, get your approval and
Yeah.
if you guys are comfortable with it. So
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
good.
I'm good with it.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There it is.
yeah, all right, we all do a high five.
High five in the middle.
Let's do it.
Guess I want to end it this way.
Love you, bro.
Yeah.
We love you, Dad.
I love all of you.
We love you, daughter.
I love you too.
Wow, that was nice.
And I tell you what,